In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Perfect. What's the deal, Panther fans? My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. Tremendous show for you tonight. Is Ian Thomas the Tinder swindler? Oh my goodness, there is a lot more to talk about than you would think right now. We've got an Ian Thomas contract, which I may argue to you tonight, folks, is the most lucrative deal in the history of football. There is a metric where I'm going to prove to you tonight that Ian Thomas is the highest paid tight end in the league. I can't wait for you to hear it. We've got that. We've got news about potential trades when it comes to the quarterback. There are names such as Jimmy G floating out there, Gardner Minshew floating around there, and the Panthers supposedly are dead set on picking an offensive lineman at 6 overall, according to Daniel Jeremiah. We've got that and much more to talk about tonight. My name's Tony Dunn, C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast, where every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it with my wheelman, my homie, my brother, Cody Lashney. Welcome back.
Tony Dunn, what's up, brother? It's another Tuesday night. And you know what? The combine is upon us, man. I know you don't give a damn. You let us know every year how much you loathe this time of year. But for us draftniks, the combine is fun, man. You're getting a look at the future of the NFL. Of course, the rumors are buzzing already about the Panthers and potential trade players that we could trade for, players that we might draft, a whole bunch of good stuff to talk about, Tony Dunn. But you already know that we're going to do it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. Tony, you already know him and love him. It's our man Drew, Brad Dugan, Connor Jordan, Jorge Marcelo, Kegel Fort, Matt Knows Nothing, Panthers Are Kings, the Duck 123, Tim Estes, Trap, Trill 1, Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. You can join the C3 Panthers podcast. Leave a message. Tell us what you think about the Ian Thomas contract, what you think about potential trade options for the Carolina Panthers at quarterback, or who we would have to give up and who you want in this draft. Should you be, actually, call up and tell me this. This is what I want them to tell me. Are you excited about the combine? 252-228-5098. Do you like the underwear Olympics, CK?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the combine is something that's filled with hope for anybody who's a Panthers fan. I mean, there's always going to be this sense of like, who is the guy that's going to put us over the hump? Now, have we gotten that? No, like not in recent years, but it's also nice to be able to look at that and kind of have hope that that maybe one of these guys can change our futures. And listen, we've heard too many reports. Right now, I feel like every week I just feel like the Panthers are more and more inept at doing football. Like
at this thing called the football.
Yeah, the football. Yeah, the football. It seems to be a bit too difficult for them, and so I am. Listen, I'm got my expectations pretty low for what we're going to be doing. But listen, the combine's always fun because you're going to see somebody who blows it out of the water, somebody who comes in who doesn't, who does way better. The DK Metcalfs of these things that are going to come in here and do things nobody thought they could do, and there's hope to be had in that.
Let's talk about this before we jump into show topics, is that this is the off season. This is the starving time for Panthers content. It is the starving time for, well, actually, maybe it's the frenzy time of optimism. But if you're a hardcore listener, which you are, and I know you are if you're here at this moment, the Panthers, not the best track record in the last few years, not the most exciting time of the year, paying Ian Thomas a enormous amount of money, it feels like. You can help Panther Nation grow by smashing the thumbs up button, subscribing to the show, and you can find ways to monetarily support the show in the show notes. Donate if you want. Call is the best way to do it. 252-228-5098. Cody, bring us into it. It's got to be, have we found the true Tinder swindler? And is the Tinder swindler the bad guy? Or is he my guy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on if we're talking about Ian Thomas. Listen, if we're talking about Ian Thomas, I don't know, man. It came out 5 misdemeanors are currently have been issued. He was apparently evading a police officer on dirt bike in Huntersville. All right, so let's
get a little bit more specific with the story.
Yeah,
is that this started off as one felony and 4 misdemeanors. The felony being evading arrest, right? Like when you do that, that's not a tick, So, there was a dirt bike and a red ATV. The red ATV got away. Looks like they slowed up, maybe. And I don't think this is too crazy. It's not like a O.J. Simpson chase, right? It feels like he tried to maybe see if he could give it a shot for a block and then said, you know what, this ain't the best thing. But the problem was not probably supposed to be driving this type of vehicle on the street, right? Is that like they have to be insured and licensed in a certain way for these on-road off-road bikes to be legal. And then it sounds like too he had a revoked license, which I think goes back to him doing a 90 and a 65, which I'm not even that crazy about. Like, I mean, I know that sounds fast and stuff like this, but when traffic's moving, we've been going 90 on the 70 road before. But anyway, is that it was 1 felony, 4 misdemeanors a year ago, which then is consolidated into 5 misdemeanors, and that's the result at this point.
So I have the article right here. If you'd like me to read a little bit of it, it says Panthers tight end Ian Thomas, who agreed to a contract extension last week, is facing 5 misdemeanor charges after attempting to evade police on a dirt bike last summer north of Charlotte. Court records show the 25-year-old Thomas was driving an unregistered, uninsured 2017 Honda on a suspended license when a Huntersville police officer noticed the dirt bike and a separate vehicle, a red ATV, did not have license plates and initiated a traffic stop. The officer said Thomas and the other driver appeared to slow down, then accelerated and entered the oncoming lane of traffic around 9:30 p.m. on July 12th. The incident occurred in an area near a Walmart and other businesses. While the operator of the ATV drove off, Thomas stopped about 1.5 miles from his home, according to court records. He was arrested and jailed on 5 counts, including reckless driving and fleeing felony to elude. Thomas has a court appearance in August. Records show Thomas was stopped in Iredell County in 2020 for going 91 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone. The charge was later dismissed, although Thomas was convicted of reckless driving. A team spokesperson said Monday the team is aware of the matter and had notified the league at the time of incident.
So what's, I guess, the kind of intrigue about this story is that like this is a kind of a non-story, right? If you think about like when a kind of a kind of critical, like a interesting or bad incident when it comes to legal matters, this is low on the totem pole of problems.
Yeah, it would be wrong to.
The interesting part is that the news of this, of an event that happened a year ago, broke 2 days after Ian Thomas successfully signed a strong $3 year, $16 million deal, which ultimately I believe is a 1 year, $8 million deal. If you probably get down to the nitty gritty when we find the details, but that's the thing right here. Let's start with that. Your thoughts about the arrest in relationship to the contract, CK, because CK, you were vocal about the contract in our group chat prior to the news of him even being like heard of this arrest. And the fact is the arrest was a year ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I mean, the signing of Ian Thomas to doing what he did, I mean, for the Panthers is absolutely hysterical, especially 1 year removed after drafting tight end last year and a guy who is still on a rookie contract. So let's go ahead and put resources into a tight end who has literally contributed little to nothing to this team and who has been a part of a regime who has not been able to be successful. Since Greg Hardy has left, Ian Thomas was supposed to pick up the baton or whatever you want to call it, and Ian Thomas has dropped the ball literally and figuratively on every step of the way since he's become the guy that's the tight end. To the point where they went out and signed a free agent in Dan Arnold last year before trading him away during the middle of the season when we were doing really well, right? Like that's the point that I want to make. Like they didn't even believe in him last year because they went and got a guy. They not only did they go and get a guy, they also went and drafted a guy. And now all of a sudden you're telling me Ian Thomas is worth $16 million? Come on. It's an absolute joke. I mean, my biggest argument now is like, do we really believe that Fitterer is competent enough to get us a guy in the draft that's going to be a contributing factor to this offense?
So the thing about this is I don't care about these charges, bro.
I don't either, man. And I don't want Panther fans to all of a sudden start to think, that, now it's coming out that he's a bad dude who is irresponsible. I mean, to me, this is a nothing burger.
The charges are a nothing burger, son.
Right.
Or little bro. But the contract is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And this is not Ian Thomas's fault. First of all, Ian Thomas, whoever your agent is, take him to dinner. This mug got his paycheck because Ian Thomas, who came onto the scene in 2018, the Brian Burns draft, which is part of one of the worst drafts in Carolina Panthers history. Honestly, like there's an argument for that. There's also an argument that this was like a talent list draft, like 2018. When you go and look at the names, I don't see any names that are just like crazy awesome to me in that draft.
Right.
And clearly Ian Thomas is not a crazy awesome name. But at the end of the day is that Ian Thomas was a guy who sort of burst onto the scene in his rookie season, who looked like he could be a pass catching tight end, a guy who could make plays after the catch, had an athleticism to him that we could see maybe potentially filling some of the void left by Greg Olsen. Right? I mean, not that anybody said he's going to be the next Greg Olsen, but he came in and had his best season of his career.
Right.
His rookie year, he had 333 yards, 2 touchdowns. The next year, his snap count percentage fell tremendously. It's the final year of Ron Rivera. It looked like Ian Thomas found himself in the proverbial doghouse of Ron Rivera. And we know that once you get in the Ron Rivera doghouse, it's not good for a young player. It's hard. They have to work their way out. And it's possible, but I mean, Ron Rivera is not here for him to do so. Matt Rule comes around, and all of a sudden, Ian Thomas is a giant part of the offense. And when I say that, he's on the field every damn play.
Mm-hmm.
Every play, it feels like. His snap counts, if you look at it, jump back up from like 20% to back to 48%, which is in like the top 10 of what tight ends do. Right. So is that like the only tight ends that got a lot more snaps than him were in the 50s. So it's not like it was like 20, 30 snaps ahead. So he's getting a lot of work on the field, but his production is not going up at all.
The
and
problem is even when he does have the ball in his, like when he is the receiver, when the ball is thrown his way, and you can blame whatever you want to do, but like Ian Thomas isn't going down the field, right? He's not an incredible route runner, and he's not like getting separation. But when he's targeted, he's dropped the ball like a tremendous amount of times.
He had 30 targets last year, CK. 30 targets. He had 18 catches. Last year, Ian Thomas had 18 catches for 188 yards, and he got paid $8 million. If you project that production from last year to his contract this year, he will be paid $444,000 per catch. And I gotta say this is people like, oh, his blocking got better. Okay. Well, the problem with his game was his blocking in the beginning. Right? It's like that's probably what got him in the Ron Rivera doghouse in many ways. But the point is this is what the hell? $8 million off of the production of 18 catches, 188 yards. And I don't care how much you tell me his blocking has improved. And this is where I want to pass it back to you, Cody.
Yeah.
This is where the charges are important to me. Is when did the Carolina Panthers know about this? Did they not know? Did they know? And what I think is it is important to understand this contract still.
I think they did know, and I just think that they didn't care too much. I think that
that's
if you're
even
going
worse.
to sign a player, well, I mean, listen, it happened over a year ago. If they're just now finding out about it, then they'd be slapping themselves that they didn't know about this sooner.
Right.
And then they're just now paying. But I don't believe that. You cannot tell me that this front office didn't know about this for a better part of a year. I'm inclined to believe that the team has looked into it.
Then why could they not have gotten a better deal?
Because they're
That's
not.
my thing is how did this man extract a king? How did he get a king's ransom?
It's a very simple answer, and it's something that I've been saying for a better part of a year. The Carolina Panthers cannot evaluate talent. That's just a simple fact of the matter.
Fitterer.
Well, I mean, it falls on Fitterer, but it falls on Matt Rule as well, too. I mean, I think one of a legit question that we can ask is how much has Ian Thomas's growth, how much has that been limited by one, the quarterback carousel, two, the offensive line, and then I'm not making excuses. I'm putting forth details of the conversation, and then number three, having an offense that never fundamentally used the tight end a lot anyway, he was kind of lost in the shuffle there. What makes this 100% all the more embarrassing is that this contract was signed just because they like Ian Thomas as a run blocker. He doesn't offer much in pass protection, and frankly, he's only had 1 year where he's been above 300 receiving yards. So you're essentially just hiring him or signing him to this new extension because of this one thing that he does well. The Panthers don't know what real value is. But that's the point is
that makes it terrible, Cody. And it's not because do you know that last year, and I got to give a lot of credit to my boy JoJo. My boy JoJo was the one that when he was like, "What are you going to be talking about on the show?" I was like, "We got to talk about his contract and this and that." He was like, "What?" He didn't know about him a lot, and we were talking about some of the things. He goes, "Let's find out the numbers of what he's getting paid per catch and stuff like that." So, do you know that Travis Kelce had 92 catches last year? And he's the second highest paid tight end in the league. Second highest paid in the
Who's number
league.
one?
George Kittle.
Oh, okay.
For next year. I mean, it's like by 700. It's like 15 million, 4.3. Right. So I
both
think
of those dudes are fucking nasty.
Sure. But think about this is that George Kittle was hurt. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like we used Kelce, he was like the most productive tight end and also the highest paid ultimately, kind of, or close to it. And that was $150,000 a catch he gets paid. I mean, he had 92 catches last year. So the part I have about this, the question I have about this is that if the Carolina Panthers if they knew about Ian Thomas's legal problems, which I would assume, like you said, like they look like fools either way, in my opinion. How did they get Tinder swindlered for the most amount of money from him? And I do think there's a reason. Like, first, I think Ian Thomas is saying this is I'll go out there and I'll test free agency, and I don't have to be with y'all's stinky ass team anymore. Like he could have said that. I don't think the Panthers have a lot of street cred when it comes to paying dudes, right? So maybe that helps Ian Thomas in the negotiating room is like coaching staff's about to be fucked up. Everybody's about to be fired. Why should I want to put, you better make that up in some dollars for me. But at the same time, like how are the Carolina Panthers? They're not shrewd negotiators.
And Tony,
this is not a shrewd negotiation. This is getting fleeced, bro. You got
Tony,
fleeced.
remember last year, the first thing that Federer did was Cam Irving and Pat Elflein. That was the first move that he made. And this year, the first real move that he makes is bringing back a tight end who is
Frankie Louvu.
But okay, Frankie Louvu.
This is bigger than that deal.
I'm talking about offense. I'm talking your ability to field an offense, which is everything that your team has been unable to do thus far. His first signing is Ian Thomas, and it paid him a contract that, quite frankly, he would not have received anywhere else. And I put this on Twitter like a week or so ago. The Carolina Panthers make all their decisions based on fear and uncertainty. So if they don't know that for certain that they're going to be able to upgrade the tight end position and to have someone that they can at least settle for, they're going to give that guy the money. It's the same thing they did with Cam Irving and Pat Elflein last year. They don't have a better answer.
Yeah, but this is even worse, I think. This is a 1 year, $8 million deal. It is a 3-year deal. This is the way they have it. The stats that we saw was it's a 3-year deal for $16 million, but $8 million are guaranteed. $6 million in cash straight when you sign the piece of paper, and $8 million, like he's going to get 2.5 more million as long as he just makes the team this year. Right. And if he doesn't make the team, then it would be even awesome for him. Oh yeah, I got $6 million to sign a piece of paper. So this is, I do have a theory of why they had to do this. Is I think there's about to be a lot of changeover for the Carolina Panthers at a lot of different positions. I think that also that Scott Fitterer may have signaled this is like this is kind of a sunk year for, like, he's going to sink his cost in 2022, and like he can completely cut Ian Thomas after this year if he needs to. Like this is almost hurting Matt Rule in a way.
Yeah.
So
Everything hurts Matt
This
Rule,
is
but
this is a big. I think this is just a strange moment. $8 million for a blocking tight end, and who for a guy was not supposed to be a blocking tight end to begin with.
Wait. Did they just do this to have him play left tackle?
they're playing 5D
Right.
chess.
Right. He's like, we're always gonna have him be on that side.
Right.
God. He did say the front seven one time. I was like, what do you mean the front seven? I was like, gosh, you mean when you run a two tight end set, they're all blockers? Like, oh, what kind of offense you run? We try to get a bunch of bums from 7 across and an injured running back to protect a shit ass quarterback. That's our offensive system. God. All right. Anything else on? Actually, one more thing. Let's go with Ian Thomas just a little bit more, and we'll get into some calls and do some other news. Do you know Ian Thomas was drafted 101 overall, 4th round? A player that was picked in front of him by the Carolina Panthers was Rashawn Golden. Bum. Good God. 2018 may have been the Carolina Panthers' worst draft possible. But what is interesting to me is that Ian Thomas was picked 101st overall, 4th round. And this guy only played 9 games in college.
Yeah, that was the whole thing with Ian Thomas is his potential. And that's exactly what you know, with your whole thing that you put out there with that article. Like, they drafted Ian Thomas because of they were doing confusing possible with probable. You know, and like, you know, I don't think any of us had a problem with the draft because he wasn't drafted super, you know, it wasn't
right.
A high value pick, but like, God, when you sit here and think about that, and you know, you hoped. I mean, I think if you any Panthers fan, if you had told them, like when he was drafted, that after 4 years he was going to get a contract where he made $8 million in the first year of the contract, you'd be like, damn, we have the replacement for Greg Olsen. Right there,
right. That's what Greg Olsen made in his final season. Right. Probably was $8 million. Ian Thomas, how about Greg Olsen? Must feel like he just got sand kicked in his face. Ian Thomas made more than him in a season, and he had 18 catches.
It's ineptitude in our front office, man. And look, at the end of the
might
day,
be on Fitterer, bro. Is this on Fitterer, or is he sinking Rule on purpose? Or is he saying this? Is that like, all right, Rule, you get this year, we'll give you what you call for. You want this guy back? You can have him. I'll pay a little extra for it, but that's all I'm paying. It almost feels like this is Fitterer is detaching his boat from Matt Rule.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's also detaching his own boat for himself. Because even if Matt Rule gets fired, all of these signings are still on him as the general manager.
But that's what is that if he can shed them, this instance is front loaded, he'll be able to shed this and make it a thing in the past.
But what's also the point of it?
But like, hey, hold on though. If that's what you're doing, grow some fucking balls and go to David Tepper way beforehand, have a private one-on-one with him, and say, hey, you know what, man? Matt Rule isn't the dude. So instead of having to do these underhanded moves to like, get him out of here, no, be up front and say that we don't have the proper head coach. Also, what we have to consider is that we know that Matt Rule has final say-so on all football operations. So, Tony, well, we might want to look at Fitterer
not contractual, though.
I mean, yes, it is. We keep on hearing that Matt Rule has final say-so. Now, maybe the dollar amount goes to Fitterer and Suleiman and people like that. But as far as who is going to be a Carolina Panther for the next year, if Matt Rule says, get that guy a contract, he's gonna get one.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, come on. Is
why
that Matt
should I
Rule
think
saying
any
he
different?
wants Ian Thomas back versus Fitterer saying I'll pay him $8 million next year?
Right. I don't think.
I feel like this is sabotage.
Yeah.
It's a sabotage. This is you don't like the Beastie Boys, so
Yeah, then he's stupid either way, man. He has no one to blame but himself. No one in this organization has anyone to blame but themselves.
Right.
They're continuing to let this.
What do you mean?
Yeah, they continue to let their lack of ability to evaluate talent haunt this football team. And we'll get to it later. They're already talking
like you
about
said, grow a set of balls. I think you're right about that. Is like him trying to sabotage Matt Rule is kind of strange. If you think he's going to be sabotaged, like you should almost sabotage him in a better way that positions you for the future. I just find it strange. How the hell did Ian Thomas make this amount of money?
Tony,
this amount of money is dope.
The answer that you're looking for is not the answer that you want to hear, but we have no reason not to believe that it isn't the answer. And the simple fact of the matter is it's ineptitude. It's incompetence, ineptitude, however you want to spin it. The people in the front office of the Panthers organization felt like this was a good move for our long-term goals. And the fact that, CK mentioned this before we went live, the fact that all these things are so blatantly apparent to everyone in the fan base, and yet no one in the Panthers organization, that's probably what's most disheartening about this whole thing.
Yep.
It is very tough. All right, bring us to our go ahead and bring us to our next topic real quick. Let me pull this last. I got the call ready.
So, this is rumor season. Rumors abound aplenty. So, I felt like these two were interesting topics of discussion. Pat Thorman on Twitter says, not sure it's a great sign that the Mitch Trubisky buzz is primarily based on Matt Nagy's having held him back. We did this just a year ago with Sam Darnold and Adam Gase. So it's like, this is the perfect Matt Rule move to do something like this because we did it just last year. And then in more Panthers related news directly, and take this for what it's worth, it's just a rumor, but Natalie Miller, who is pretty well respected on Twitter, put out this tweet that says Carolina will make a very competitive offer for Jimmy G likely sometime next week. And Tony, in my opinion, going on this Jimmy G thing, this is a continuation of what we just spoke about with Ian Thomas. It is a matter of ineptitude at actually being able to evaluate talent and not seeing the forest through the trees, that Jimmy Garoppolo was the product of the talented football team around him, the talented coaching staff around him, and the good defense that the 49ers had. The fact that the Carolina Panthers, and again, we can't confirm any of this, but it is so not far-fetched to believe that the Carolina Panthers would think that they're Jimmy Garoppolo away from being able to be a contender in the NFC South. And it just fundamentally isn't true to me. Now, some of you might disagree, but to me, he's no better than the type of prospect that you were looking at in a Teddy Bridgewater or, any of these
actually, Teddy Bridgewater turns out to be the best of this group when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater, Jimmy G, and Sam Darnold. Look, you rolled your dice last year on Sam Darnold. The fact that they signed the 5th-year option, to me, they thought they were buying low and it was going to pay off high, right? And that's fine. I mean, it's not fine. It kind of sucks. Like, you wish you didn't do it. But they were trying to believe in their own decision, it felt like.
Yeah.
Jimmy G is, again, like, let's just not repeat the same crap over and over again. And on top of that, Jimmy G is he just reported today that he's going to have some sort of shoulder procedure. And I don't care if it's minor, major, this or that. I'm tired of signing prospects or whatever it may be who are having some sort of procedure or injury or coming off of this. And it really takes them 2 years. I know they can physically get out there and do better. Look, I hate to say this name in this vein because I hate this fool, period. And like he sucked no matter what. But Matt Khalil, coming off of some sort of hip surgery. And they were like, oh, well, now he's got his hip fixed. He's going to be way better than he was in Minnesota. And bum. So he sucked. Turned out, yes, he sucked because he had an injury, but he also sucked because he sucked. On top of that, there's another player. Oh, Matt Paradis. Matt Paradis was the top rated center, free agency, this and that, but he was also coming off of some sort of leg injury. And you know what? He didn't play that well his first year back. He played the games. He probably went out there and Ironmanned it and did what he had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like the fucking Spartan warrior type thing, but he wasn't great. The next year, he was good. Third year, right? I'm tired of signing hurt people. Number one, signing mediocre bums. No. Like Jimmy G ain't going to help us. And I got a problem with this Mitch Trubisky join. I got a problem. Because the Commanders are interested in him now, supposedly this and that. But look, at the end of the day, this dude has given us no reason to have a lot of belief in him. He is a Sam Darnold. He is Sam Darnold. And I'm sorry, I don't want to bring in Mitch Trubisky to compete at the quarterback position with Sam Darnold. Imagine that. You want to have a shit sandwich or a puke or the puke poo-poo platter. Right? I mean, that's what it feels like. We already saw that. It's like Trubisky and Foles could barely hang together. Might as well give us Nick Foles at this point. And he's got a Super Bowl. Like, this is thirsty. This is slapping around in the water. You're about to drown. It's panic. And if we can't do this, sorry, Matt Rule, it's not going to work. I don't see a pathway for you being the future. We just need to draft a fucking offensive lineman or a quarterback and say sayonara to you. Because if we get Mitch Trubisky this year, bro, it's going to be terrible. There's only one person in free agency, and the chat was all over it earlier. Gardner Minshew. It's the only name I will field. The only name I will field because he's got the pizzazz and this and that. He will take over that locker room. Matt Rule will be just licking his balls all season long.
But listen, man, I know I sound like a broken record here. I'm going to continue on this. It is a lack of an ability to evaluate talent. The San Francisco 49ers have a much better roster than the Carolina Panthers. And they've already showed you what they're doing with their future. Mm-hmm. They drafted another quarterback with the 3rd overall pick last year who has a much higher upside than Jimmy Garoppolo. And yet this is the guy that Carolina Panthers would potentially be interested in trading for. And by the way, you want to say that this is a rumor. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this type of evaluation fits in line with every single quarterback decision the Panthers have made thus far.
Also, when it comes
to bringing back Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold, it just fits.
And it's not solely reported by her. Hear the Panthers being mentioned in the conversations of a landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo, that the Panthers are interested. Like, now, granted, there's nobody saying that we're about to make a competitive offer for him. But I mean, listen, at this point in time, I mean, a guy like that fits exactly what Matt Rule wants. He doesn't want, like, the first thing he did with, yes, a couple of years of down years for Cam Newton because of injury, but his first answer was to cut him for a guy who has a much less personality with Teddy Bridgewater, right? And then he cuts Teddy Bridgewater and gets another guy with very little personality in Sam Darnold. Right. I mean, and it was only after like heavy criticism of his maneuvers that he decided to go and sign Cam Newton. And Cam Newton brought an energy that we hadn't seen in years to this team, even though it didn't work out in the long run for the success of the team. Like it's clear that Matt Rule has a guy that he sees as being like that the guy that he wants to be his quarterback.
I don't know. At this point, I feel like he got turned down. Like his girlfriend broke up with him. He's going to the prom. Like now he's just asking any girl in the hallway.
Because he can't show up alone after putting so much effort into, trying to get.
He doesn't have a lot of cred, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to this, is that I don't like this is the people in the chat going at me for the Gardner Minshew mess. Like you all got to get on and get the stepping. Number one, this is why I gotta say is like out of the list of people, who would you most like out of like who do you want to roll with? Out of these three people, would you rather roll with Jimmy G, Mitch Trubisky, or Gardner Minshew?
I'm tired of shopping.
Say roll with them. You have to not only say who do you want to pick to be on your squad. We're in the backyard. We're picking teams. But you also have to recognize that your pick comes with consequences, monetary consequences. So Trubisky is the lowest cost because he's just a straight free agent. Right? So you might have to pay him a little bit more to come, but there's not a lot of, you don't have to give any draft capital up.
There's a bigger risk involved with him.
Yeah, right. All right. So like this is which of those three. So I want y'all to back up on that because I will say this. I'm taking Minshew over Jimmy G right away. Jimmy G's got a shoulder surgery, and you don't like him anyway, and you got to trade for him.
I'm telling you this.
Go ahead.
I'm telling you this. I think we have to I don't like this option. I think you have to have an option that includes a draft pick as well.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But like people are saying that Minshew is the worst option, and we're talking about Mitch Trubisky.
Right. Here's the thing is I'm definitely not in on, but all of these guys have, like, let's be honest, Jimmy Garoppolo has the biggest, like has the low, like the highest floor, but also has a very much more limited ceiling, right? He is like I would put him in that Alex Smith type of mindset. Like
Jimmy G's worse than that. Jimmy G's lower than that.
But I would put him in that category of somebody who is going to be predictable. I would put him in the Teddy Bridgewater category, right? I think him and Teddy Bridgewater would be very similar quarterback prospects in that regard. Gardner Minshew is a wild card. Like he could be an option.
Oh, you're talking about Jimmy G. All right, I got you. Sorry, yeah. I thought you were talking about Gardner. My bad.
No. Yeah, Gardner Minshew has a much bigger.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Brett Favre-ish quality. Yeah. Like it's like he could throw. Actually, he doesn't throw any interceptions, dude. Yeah. So I don't want to go too long on it, but I just don't understand why Jimmy G and Mitch Trubisky should be even considered as better names.
I don't think Mitch needs to be in the conversation at all.
Right? I know. Oh my God.
How about all these fucking names make it really hard to be a Panther fan? Because I don't want any of them, dude. Like none of these guys are gonna get me excited.
You'll
for this
love
season,
Jimmy
dude.
G. I mean, you'll love Gardner
Minshew,
yes,
not Jimmy Garoppolo, not any of these other fucking halfwits. None of these guys are the guy, and we're in quarterback hell, y'all. Like especially those of us, I know, which is most of us here in the chat room that have been here since Cam Newton. And, you have remembered those years where you could depend on a franchise quarterback. Like, those days are long gone. Listen to the conversation that we're having right now. We're talking about the minutia between Jimmy G and Mitch Trubisky and Gardner fucking Minshew. Dude, that's enough to kill my fucking
You
soul,
will
man.
love
It
Minshew, bro.
sucks, dude.
You know what?
They all fucking suck, man.
You know what Matt Rule's era as a Carolina Panther reminds me of? It's like a butterfly effect, right? Like the butterfly effect is somebody went back in time and said, I don't like Cam Newton. We're going to get Matt Rule to get rid of him. And then you see this horrible just destruction of the Carolina Panthers because of one decision that led to a plethora of bad decisions thereafter. Like I just I'm not saying that that's all just that's where it started. It's clearly Matt Rule is the problem, but you can kind of go back to that decision as being like that was the start of the downfall.
The number's 252-228-5098. What do you think about this Ian Thomas contract? What do you think about this quarterback controversy between two bums and my man, Gardner Minshew? What do you think about, I guess, the NFL Combine coming up and Matt Rule not speaking about it? Please call in 252-228-5098. Let's go to the cat calls.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Yo guys, what up? My name is Connor Jordan. I'm here from North Carolina, and I got 2 trade packages for the Panthers to get at quarterback. By the way, guys, I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I've been watching it for a while now, and I love it. So, first trade package, a bit more of a smaller one. We give up a second-round pick for 2023, and we receive quarterback Gardner Minshew and left tackle with Jordan Mailata from the Eagles. I think that would be a pretty good package. And then the other package that I have is a bit bigger. We give up Christian McCaffrey, this year's first, Robbie Anderson, and Derek Brown. And we get Russell Wilson for that package. You guys let me know what you think of this packages. Besides that, my name's Connor. Love your podcast, and I'm out.
Connor, appreciate you, brother. That was a fantastic call, man.
Absolutely.
Fantastic call. We already know Tony's answer for that first trade scenario. He's drooling all over it, even just hearing.
I don't think they would do it. I think that a second round pick is for 2 players is going to be they hold the cards. I like that second one, bro.
Russell Wilson?
Let's do it.
So what did you say again? McCaffrey, Derek Brown, and the first our first pick?
And Robbie Anderson. Hold on. Want to hear it again?
The
it's
position
rich.
is easily
It's rich,
replaceable.
but here, let's hear.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah,
Here
it's
it goes.
Get Russell Wilson for that package. You guys let me know. And left tackle with Jordan Mailata from the Eagles. I think that would be a pretty good package. And then the other package that I have is a bit bigger. We give up Christian McCaffrey, this year's first, Robbie Anderson, and Derek Brown. And we get Russell Wilson for that package. You guys let me know what you think of this package.
What a deal for
Besides
everybody.
that, my name's Connor. Love your podcast, and I'm out.
Like we can't give up our first. It's like one too many. That's the thing. It's like one thing too many. Like I'm okay with the Robbie. I'm okay with the first. I'm okay, even in theory, with Derek Brown or with Christian McCaffrey, but all of them. I feel like you take Christian McCaffrey off that list, I might start thinking about it.
I mean, Derek Brown, and people might.
I like Derek Brown, bro. Like, nah, don't shit on him. It'd be
people might
fine. Might
think-
as well just keep him right now.
No, I'm not shitting on him. I'm saying, I have said before that I think that he was overdrafted for where he was drafted.
Right.
But that does not mean that he is not an incredibly important part of our defense going forward, especially if
And
we're going to be
a great
4-3.
part of it too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you're going to need that monster in the middle. You're going to need that disruptor, that big guy that can eat up those double team blocks on the interior. You're going to need that type of guy. And I think Derek Brown is that kind of guy.
How do we alter that deal right there to get Russell Wilson, Cody? Because, like, I think you could almost... Could you make that deal with the first? Could you give them a first, Robbie, and like he's right. It's like it's not like first of all, you can't just give them two things. It's not just going to be Robbie and a first. That's going to get you Russell. But if you give
what
him,
about just Christian McCaffrey and Derek Brown?
And a first, or that's
I mean,
it.
no,
Just players straight up, they just eat all that money. I think they'd rather the first pick. Give them the first pick and Robbie and.
But you have to figure if you're losing a franchise quarterback like Russell Wilson, you want to get an offensive weapon for him in return. So you're either going to want Robbie Anderson, you're going to want Christian McCaffrey, or you're going to want the 6th overall pick. Or 7th, or whatever the fuck we're picking at right now.
They get 2 of the 3, and one of them is Robbie. That's what I say.
That's tough.
That was a rich deal for Russell. A little rich for Russell. It was.
But listen, I like that call, though. I think Connor's thinking more proactive about the future of our football team than Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule are. So, dude, shout out to Connor, man.
Yeah,
another young guy that we have watching the show.
Feel like that's the first time Connor's called in. We appreciate it. We hope you call back. The number's 252-228-5098. We're talking about Ian Thomas. We're talking about the Panthers' potential draft picks at quarterback. Let's go to the next call. If it will play, come on. When the double click doesn't work, we have to stall.
All right, so let's stall.
Hey, what's up, C3? This is
I guess not.
Again. Hope y'all don't get tired of me tonight, but y'all going through a lot tonight, and I got some things to address real quick. As far as Ian Thomas, yeah, he did start off with a hot hand, and he's been up and down, but I didn't know, if you listen to my last comment, I was kind of like, okay, I think he had the most catches ratio, the better catch ratio out of all the receivers last year, right? I believe. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. But the money, yeah, it is ridiculous. But one thing we really have to look at is, okay, we're saying that it's all Scott Fitterer, and I believe that it is. I really don't feel that Matt Rule, before this year, yes, he had that control of acquisitions, right? But go back to the presser a few weeks ago when Fitterer came out and just literally blasted Matt Rule's assessment of arm length at the O-line position. The GM isn't going to say anything that he doesn't have the authority to say. So that signals this, that maybe the team now is more in Fitterer's hand than we think. As a matter of fact, even as it concerns the draft, why do you want a lame duck coach even making any picks? You know what I'm saying? Because a lame duck coach needs to do what? Shut the duck up. Pretty much. Because you don't want him picking players that's going to outlast his ass. And again, we have to consider Ben McAdoo. Where does he fit in all of this? For all intents and purposes, this guy is the interim head coach. We got to think about that. Mm-hmm. So are these picks based on, based on the fact that, they're just safe picks until Rule is out of the way? Or, is Ian Thomas a guy that Ben McAdoo likes, or what so have you? Back to Ian's charges. Look, we've had much worse.
Yeah, we're not worried about the severity of it.
2019 guy got pulled over with weed. That's not really worse, but I mean, in retrospect, we knew about that right when it happened, right? This takes a year or so. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know why we just not found out about it. But we've had things, at the higher end of the spectrum. Remember, guy in the truck. I won't even say the sorry bastard's name. Yeah, we're not even gonna give him any validity. But we got that on the history. So yeah, there's been a lot worse. Y'all have a blessed night.
Not worried about the type of charges that these are. I mean, clearly you don't want any of your players getting in trouble. Just like I don't want my children or myself
Right.
to catch a charge, right? Like as you say that, I mean, when you only catch 18 passes, but you catch 5 charges, dang, sucks. I would remind my boy Joe sent me who helped me out with that $444,000 a catch number is what he's going to be getting. He sent me a message. We could have drafted Mark Andrews ahead of Ian Thomas. So Ian Thomas was drafted ahead of Mark Andrews for Baltimore, and the Schultz guy who had 8 touchdowns for the Cowboys last year. But here's the thing about Ian Thomas and all of this to me screams weird. It's something strange in the neighborhood. And what I mean by that is that, look, this is a 3-year deal. It's $16 million, but he's getting $8 million next year, guaranteed. That has to be the majority of the guaranteed money, right? I mean, it just has to. I mean, obviously. So it's like this is a 1-year deal. How is it that the Carolina Panthers are sinking this cost in a player who has had all he's had is we've heard Matt Rule say that he is the brand kind of player. Like he has raved about Ian Thomas from a leadership perspective, like how hard he works. So I don't even care about the charges. This is what makes me concerned about the charges, though. And when it comes down to it, is if we knew about the charges, I feel like we shouldn't have overpaid. I feel like we overpaid, right? Like if you knew a car had the Carfax. Like you had the Carfax and it had been in a wreck, but it's a great deal and it wasn't that bad of a wreck, and you feel confident that it's not going to be a big problem to the car.
Right.
Right. But you get to use that Carfax against the car dealer. I mean, like this bitch has been in a wreck. I ain't paying the top dollar for it. We paid. All right. So either we knew about the charges and we paid top dollar, which is problematic. That means we're not shrewd negotiators. It maybe tells us something about like the plan. Are we just setting Matt Rule up for a 1-year failure? Scott Fitterer saying, hey, after this, we're going to be cool. Or what if even worse, we didn't know about this. We paid it. And that just shows even more the incompetence of the organization, right? Like you just went and bought a car. You didn't get the Carfax report. You paid the top dollar in the book for it. And it wasn't even the best car. Like it had high mileage and bad tires. It just does not seem like a deal where we come out going, man, we really, I could see how this is going to work.
Like it's not one of those deals where if we were to sign Hassan Reddick tomorrow, we would all be ecstatic about that, right? We would all be like, yes, finally, we got him locked up to a deal that's got him here at least for 3 years or whatever it may be, right? You don't get that same feeling out of this type of deal.
I agree. Cody, overpay. Yeah. That's the problem, man. It's the overpay. That's the problem here.
Yep.
It's
and then
not
that means
player.
that down the road, we're going to be looking at these contracts, and thinking about what money we could have been spending where if we hadn't signed all these terrible deals. I don't know, man. It's just tough, dude. It's like every single
like we're trying to create an out
news. But I mean, it still feels like every single bit of news that comes out pertaining to the Carolina Panthers, it's just us explaining how stupid it is and how nonsensical it is. And for anyone who thinks that we're too hard, look, we have to see some results, some positive results before we ease up on this football team and the decisions that they make, because they have inspired absolutely no confidence from the fan base that they know what they're doing and that they're moving in the right direction. I mean, we do nothing but continuously talk about this. And it's to the point now where, to that last caller's point, we can only hope that Scott Fitterer has more control than he previously did. But if we're going to give Scott Fitterer the credit for this Ian Thomas contract, Well, then that doesn't necessarily look like
there's no
he
credit.
knows what he's doing either.
Right. I feel like this is that either he is setting Rule up for a 1-year opportunity where maybe whatever you need, not whatever you need, but we will give you, we're not going to underman you. You know, we're not going to hamstring you, because it feels like that Tepper has said, look, we're rolling 1 more year with Matt Rule. Right. So it would be kind of cruddy to run 1 more year with him and not at least give him close to an honest shot to achieve what he wanted. So I almost feel like this is like, all right, you want Ian Thomas? I'll get you Ian Thomas. Like, who you want next? I'll get it. But I ain't signing him past 1 more year. And good luck to you.
Good luck to you, sir.
I know. I mean, that's what it kind of feels like. It's like, all right, well, I guess we're paying 1 year, $8 million. Best of luck to you. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3 Podcast? This is Nick Hedden, long-time Panther fan.
Thank you, brother.
Ever since they made the announcement back in 92, 93, I came in for football practice myself and looked on WRAL, and there it was. It was the Panthers. Now we are the kittens. I don't know what the hell we are right now. Yeah, your thumbnail intrigued me. You know, when Ian Thomas first started, I used to have this thing with him, you know, when he caught a touchdown or something, I say, the team has got IT certified. So
IT, they got an IT certificate.
Certified in this contract deal. I don't know. I mean, this year I do say this year he was serviceable. You know, he tell you the truth, I think if memory serves me correctly, I believe that he is the one that caught most of his targets.
18 catches, 30 targets.
You know, versus a guy like Robbie Anderson, who we give a bag to, and he turns into Robbie Funches. But yeah, so that's where we are with that.
It's an acer. You got an acer.
The state of the Panthers union right now, we're in kind of limbo. You know, we talked a few weeks ago about us hiring the guy from Shady Acres to, you know, do the defensive line, and I'm like, you know, he's only been on one NFL team that was successful as a whole defense. The other times, the defense ranked 31st, and these were 3 different teams, and he was the line coach on all 3 teams. So that really doesn't give us any hope. You got coaches that are making lateral moves to other locations because they see the handwriting on the wall. As far as the draft, I'm okay with the draft as long as it's a Scott Fitzgerald draft. I believe lame duck coaches should shut the duck up and just stay in their little corner because they really shouldn't be picking players that's probably going to outlast them, right? You know, that's like the Josh Rosen.
I like that phrase, shut the duck up.
If we go all line like they say we're going to do, look for them to try to keep Cam and maybe go after a Malik Willis.
All right.
So that was actually a really good
that's a good segue. Thank you.
Yeah, when he mentioned what we're going to do.
True pro right there.
Yeah, man, on that offensive line. So Daniel Jeremiah was doing I guess an interview with Rich Eisen, and it came up the topic of the Panthers and what we're going to be doing with that 6th overall pick. And he had this to say, which I found interesting. One moment, let me cue this up.
Carolina, from everything I've been told, the picks right behind them is they are dead set on the offensive line. And I mean, to me, it was like put to me from somebody who's tight in there with those guys that just no matter what, just give them an offensive lineman, even if you think it's a reach. So that's what I did with them. You know,
give them an offensive lineman, even if they think it's a reach. And going back to that same clip, that the Panthers are so desperate to upgrade their offensive line position that even if a player isn't necessarily valued to be a top 10 pick, they are intent on taking that player if it's the best option available. And Tony, I believe I said this to you before the show. I remember days of Dave Gettleman saying, "You don't shop hungry. You don't go into the draft looking to fill your needs. Your free agency sets up your draft, and you want to be able to set up everything to go best player available." Now, David Gettleman missed on a bunch of his picks, to be very fair, and at times
He walked the walk.
even threw
He
his
talked
own
the talk. He didn't walk the walk.
he even threw his own ideologies out the window. But this is so dumb to me. Yeah. But this is so dumb to me because it's anti that. They are so intent on fixing the offensive line that they're just going to take whichever one they think the best one is. Now, this could ultimately end up being a good thing for the Panthers. We really like Kema Kwanu out of NC State, the left tackle, that could end up playing guard or left tackle for the Carolina Panthers. But also Charles Cross would be in that mix. I even imagine Tyler Linderbaum or even a Trevor Penning could be in that position as well. Based on whoever the Carolina Panthers have ranked higher on their big board. So I want to pose this question to you. How much do you believe this? Do you believe this report? And kind of to go off that, from a secondary question, do you trust Brady Christensen enough at left tackle that you would be content going with a guard or a center instead of someone who is potentially the best left tackle on the board?
CK, you first.
Man, I don't understand the need to draft a guy that will be there, or you're pretty confident would be there at 12, 13, 14, 15, right? I also could see, maybe call me crazy, and again, this goes against everything. If this Ian Thomas deal hadn't happened, I would have thought, maybe Scott Fitter is playing chess finally, right? By thinking, hey, listen, we're going to take an offensive lineman here no matter what. So why would somebody want to try to jump ahead of us to try to take a quarterback that we may want at 6? There's going to be taking an offensive lineman. There's no need for us to jump ahead of the Carolina Panthers. So we're just going to, hang back here, or maybe jump right behind them, or maybe even offer the Panthers this draft, this amount to jump ahead of somebody who might take a quarterback, right? I would like to say that he's playing chess, but after this Ian Thomas signing, I don't know that that's the case. We're going to find out. Right now, I think it's got to be. I was so set on offensive linemen. I was so set on it.
Don't let this fool you, man. Look, go ahead. You're right. CK, you're right. Don't let this scare you. The Panthers should be so set on offensive line that they're not going to move off unless they're trading back.
Right.
You know what the real reach is Kenny Pickett at 6. You know what the real reach is? Malik Willis at 6. The real reach is the Strong or the Ritter, whatever the fuck all these names are all of a sudden that people are telling me that are going to be good. They're the real reaches. Look, this ain't that effing hard. If the Panthers can't trade back, they should pick an offensive lineman. If they don't pick an offensive lineman, they desperate. So I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this mess as like they're going to reach no matter what. Tell me who. What? Are they going to pick a corner here? Okay. Like that's what, like that would be like saying this is that the Panthers were going to pick a corner last year no matter what. If Slater was there, if Sewell was there. I don't want to hear it. Like, yes, duh. We should have done this 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. This ain't thirsty. This is just practical. Yeah. Give me that fucking offensive lineman.
Yeah, the part that worries me is that they're going to grab. Okay, for example, let's say we really like Kema Kwanu. So right now, if I had to pick based off of this information, That's why I asked about Brady Christensen and what you think about him
Okay,
long term.
answer that too. Y'all are all too much. Y'all are too high on this dude, and I'm not saying he can't be, but to count on this person to be is too much. Right? We did not all the reason you guys love him is just because you hate Matt Rule and Matt Rule didn't love him and you guys liked him coming out of college and he didn't suck when he was on the field entirely. But that's not what I want to put my whole season on, my whole future on. I hope that works out. I hope Brady Christensen comes out and becomes the best left tackle in the history of the world. But that should not exclude me from picking Cross or this other dude. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, so the player that I am, if all these things are true and we're going to consider them to be true, I'm going to continue to go with what Matt Rule and Fitterer have shown us that they value highly, and that's position versatility. And I think that's why Ikem Ekwonu would be the best guy for that position. I think that he could play left tackle really well based on this film. But I also think that he's a day one All-Pro at left guard if you decide to put him there. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know if this works in reverse. I disagree with the Panthers' evaluation. I don't think that Brady Christensen is a second-round guard and a third-round tackle. If anything, my main concern, Tony, is that Brady Christensen's skill set is primarily meant to play tackle, and that he's not quite aggressive enough to be that interior guy. So I think when you pick a guy like a Ikem Ekwonu, if Brady Christensen ends up being your best left tackle and the way that you can get the most out of that position, then you take Ikem, you put him in the middle, and then you're going to be able to, run the football and be much more aggressive. I don't even like to hear that.
I think that Brady Christensen probably could be mean and nasty enough to play guard if he had to. I don't want to give up on him being a guard either. I agree with you. I understand, all right, so we feel like his skill, but they have said his skill set leans more towards a guard, not more towards the tackle. So if you truly believe in your original draft assessment, you should say this, is that we're trying to make Brady Christensen the guard this year and put him and Cross together.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think,
I say have some guts, man. Just have some guts. Pick the person that you believe in, not the person that you are backing into.
Yeah, but I kind of do believe in Brady Christensen just because of the fact that Matt Rule did.
Okay, that's fine. That's not for the draft, though. In your whole future, you can believe in him all you want.
But yes, it is. You're trying to figure out the configuration of your offensive line going forward. And
dude, we can get rid of Moten next year then. If we, you know what I'm saying? If that's the case.
Why are we getting rid of Moten? No, we need Moten. What I'm saying is if you have a player that shows the potential to be a good left tackle, then I say give him the opportunity to do so. Brady Christensen didn't look good at guard last year. How about that? Every time we saw Brady Christensen at guard, he didn't look good.
Okay. All right. Look, I respect your opinion. I think you're kind of right. I understand where you're coming from. Complementary players rather than double stacking. I do get that. Next call.
Hey, what's up? It's been a long time.
What's good?
Here's what you got to think about. So what nobody is considering is that we already don't have a lot of money. We already have our 18 mil deep in on Sam. And then the other thing is that I'm probably about 80% sure that Matt Rule won't make it until about halfway through the season. Probably I'm betting about the bye. So with that being said, I wouldn't waste my money on bringing in nobody else. Unless it's really cheap. So I would go with somebody unfortunately, keeping Sam or going like that because a new coach is not going to want to bring in his own person. So I wouldn't waste any more money. The damage has already been done. We just need to lay in the bed, let him, he done brought in 3 quarterbacks. It didn't work. Let him figure that out, and let this this ship sink, get him fired, and go on to something else. I think that's the best plan of action. We don't need to spend no more money on this mess. In terms of the Ian Thomas thing, Ian can block, but Ian can't catch, and we need a tight end that can do all those things, okay?
Yes.
So that's where I'm at. And he's been with us for how long? And he has not made an impression yet. So why we could do better than that in the draft. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. But I digress. Anyway.
Or you can just do that better and for like a league minimum type guy. I feel like Manhurts is probably just as good as a player as Ian Thomas is.
Yeah, and Shalika makes a good point, man. And when you have a tight end that's been with you for 4 years, you want to see some justification, or even some idea that he's getting better and better every single year, and even that hasn't been the case. Right. Like I said, he crested 300 receiving yards his rookie season, and then he's never been able to reproduce that since. That's why I brought up to you earlier, Tony, like just to play devil's advocate a little bit. Is it just because we're not using our tight ends correctly that he hasn't been given the proper chance? Are we just not putting him in the lineup enough? Or is he just sorry? Is he just not that guy? Is he just not that talented of a player? And I think these are all legitimate questions that we're asking around Ian Thomas. And the fact that there are so many questions makes that contract all the more questionable.
Yeah. Next call.
What's up, C3? It's Noah here.
And, what's up, Noah?
Just want to say how y'all day's going. Hope it's going well. But
Appreciate
I feel like on the Ian Thomas thing, I mean, I know like all the charges, but I really don't care. But I think he's getting paid too much money to be really doing nothing to contribute for the team. I feel like we should never traded the other guy.
Oh, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
I really don't care about the draft, really. It's pretty boring. Got better things to do in my life. But,
I love this guy. He's like my favorite person.
Quarterback. I know a lot of people say we don't need a quarterback. We just stay with the quarterback that we have. But I think we really do need a quarterback because I feel like when Sam Darnold gets too much pressure, he just fumbles. So that's what I feel in this situation. And I hope that y'all have a nice day. Keep pounding.
God, Noah.
Pounded, man.
He's the coolest dude I've ever met, man. Dude, he's my guy. I don't care about the draft.
We've got the Panthers Young Avengers assembling in our cat calls, man. Connor, then Noah shows up, bro. We got the guys, man. We got the next generation of Panther fans kicking it with us on a Tuesday night, man. I love it. Hey, he is a man after your own heart. He says, "Hey, I got better things to do than to watch the draft. I got way more cool shit."
Combine, right? Or is it the combine?
Yeah, he's right. He don't care, man. I'm with you, man.
Whole
it's
thing.
Like, I don't. It's the build up that's so much. It's like we're gonna watch a bazillion hours of all these people, and only 1% of it's gonna be right. If you think about it, it's Daniel Jeremiah, who is like, his name has been fielded to potentially be a GM for teams. Just randomly changes his board because he has to. And I mean, I don't even fault him for it. I mean, you work for a news outlet. You got to write a story. Like, it's Tuesday. We need your mock draft. Be like, just see the one from last week. Can't do that. You got to try to find some tinge of a storyline or something different or some potential difference. I'm with you, man. It's like, just tell me the players we got, and then we'll root for them and tell you, as we're rooting for them, that they're sorry.
Yeah, that seems like
AKA Rashawn Golden. That year we got we picked Burns first. The year that we got Ian Thomas, Rashawn Golden was the 3rd round pick. Who was our 2nd round pick that year? Probably too. We picked a couple. We picked a safety and a corner. I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. That's right. Was it Greg Little?
I think so.
Yeah, tough.
I know. It's been a blur of suck.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you know what is Greg Little was like the pansy Charles Cross. He's like a wussy Charles Cross to me.
Yeah. And by the way, man, shout out to me. I was saying that when I originally saw him, that he was soft.
Just didn't like the tenaciousness of, All right.
Yeah, I was not happy with the pick.
Avengers, mount up, man. The youngins.
Young Avengers, man.
The young cats are informing the old hats here, folks. The young cats informing the old hats. The number is 252-228-1598. You old cats, here's your chance to teach these youngins a little thing about the C3 Panthers podcast.
C3, Nick Hennigan. Last time I called in, I promise. Listen.
I don't believe it.
We're talking about Scott Fitterer,
And it's okay. We love it.
sabotaging the team, and, that's going to be on his name, just like it is Matt Rules. Listen, we got to understand that we're dealing with the owner that kept Matt Hurney after firing Rivera. That's like taking the trash can to the dump, but leaving the bag in the house. So, Scott Fitterer thinks that, Kevin might do the same thing and keep him around, which he very well could, because now he set precedent for that, right? Like, the guy doesn't know what he's doing with the football team. I don't know, and that's the thing. His silence is so golden and so telling that, you know what I'm saying, you can leave so much into the imagination. You can really say that he's trying his best to melt the team down, to devalue it, and sell it off. And he just wants the stadium for his little soccer project. We could say that because his silence leaves us no other choice, right? So, but, we have to consider all things. Why? Because we are left to our imagination and our speculation to do so, because our owner won't say anything to us. Period, point blank. That's it. I promise y'all. Good night.
Thank you. Love the call. Let's keep going.
What's going on, fellas? It's Corey calling in. Probably going to be a two-parter because there's two specific topics.
Or a tree-parter.
I wanted to talk about, or I guess get you guys' opinions on. First, I wanted to see if you guys think the Panthers are going to place a tag on anybody, and if so, who do you think is going to be? And I guess another part, like who should it be? Like, who would you put a franchise tag on?
All right, let's stop right there. Hold on.
The team's actually going to
pause before he tells us, and we keep going. I mean, he's got a lot to say.
Yep.
Who should we franchise tag?
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, ditto. Hassan. I'm not interested. Talk about replacing him or whatever. I'm not interested in.
Well, it would be a high name that's about to walk away. Is there anybody else?
No.
Knowing what we have to do and what we have to do on offense and how we have to build and continuously build up this offense, I want to do everything in my power to try and keep that defense relatively the same and put us in a position to add some pieces to it and not take away from it.
He gets a linebacker price, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't get a DM price, I would think, as like that sucks for him. And that helps us. And what about this? If you are sinking, this might fit into the model. It might Fitterer into the model where we sink the money in this year, but trying to clear the books for the future.
Right.
A franchise tag has no bearing next year.
Right.
But what if you're a tag and we trade Reddick 4 games into the season?
Trade? Dude, I would be so pissed.
So to like another, no, like think about this is like we realize this team, Matt Rule's a fool. Everything's going to get screwed up, but we trade him to a contender that needs a DN. Maybe it's in week 7 or something, like right before the trade deadline, and they need a guy that can come in and make ultimately what Von Miller did for the Rams this year or something. You know what I'm saying? Like to that effect, that could be a way to pay money now in a short term and get production in the first half of the season and even draft capital later on.
Potentially. I mean, again, knowing how much he has meant to our pass rush last year. And by the way, he went on Twitter saying that he looks to be 250 pounds next season. and basically telling everybody to look out. That when you look at what, and by the way, this is 100% true. When you look at what Hassan Reddick has been able to do, while primarily now for the past 2 years playing as that 3-4 outside linebacker rushing the edge, I mean, his production has just been absolutely through the roof. So he's inclined to believe in himself, and look what that's done for him the past 2 years in a row. I have no reason to not bet on Hassan Reddick in the same way that he has bet on himself, because unlike Matt Rule and the current Carolina Panthers, he is actually trending upward in the right direction. So, yeah. Man,
I do agree. But the franchise tag is that doesn't and get us contractually involved with him for a long time. It is, I like this idea is, and I'm trying to think like way out, but imagine putting him, the Panthers stink next year, right? And we trade him to, say, the Cowboys, who have Dak and this offense that's cooking and this defense was going crazy. And you put Hassan Reddick and Micah Parsons on that same defense. Like, I feel like Jerry Jones would give us their first and a third for that. And that is money well spent for us. I like this idea of, I don't think Hassan Reddick wants to be franchise tagged, though. Like, that doesn't really help him. It gives him $14 million, which is better than what he played for this year. I don't think he's going to be mad necessarily at the guaranteed money, because he likes to bet on himself, but he really would like to just sign a 4-year deal with the Eagles.
He hasn't gotten that yet. Yeah.
Well, he might. We haven't seen it yet. You're right. We haven't seen it yet, as people have continued to overlook him contractually. All right, let's keep going with the call.
I honestly, if it's on the table, I'll put a tag on Gilly. Only because
here it is.
A lot of people, there's this notion around him that he potentially likes the Carolina so much, he loves it, he would be willing to take a pay cut to stay here. I kind of just don't believe that. I don't really have any thing to combat it. I just don't really see that. It's like,
no way.
We're not. Of course, he probably loves the Carolinas. He loves it here. I mean, we're not great. We're not a good team. Like, who knows? He hasn't been here that long. I just don't see him taking a pay cut to stay with us. But I think he'd be a really good player to put a tag on, because he's still elite. He's still a really good corner. But I don't really know if his age and just the trajectory of his career matches up with what we're trying to do as a team and the age of the rest of the defense, right? So, by the time you franchise tag somebody once, you may be able to get like another tag on there. After that, they're going to be way too expensive to, sign to a long-term deal. Like, he's at that point, he's not going to be worth it at, whatever age he's going to be. But he still has a lot to give to this team. He has a lot to teach to, JC. Still have to see, what we have in CJ Henderson. I don't necessarily think he's that good, but the jury's still kind of out on him. This next year, the next 2 years, we can really see what we have in these defensive backs, still get something out of Gilmore before, we start to see the age, kind of take over and his play start to decline. I think that's really all I had on this one. I wouldn't franchise tag Hassan Reddick, honestly, because at that point, if we do, it's just kind of off-putting signing him to a long-term deal, because if we do end up doing that, I feel like the money's just going to be just kind of way too over what he's worth. He's a great player, great pass rusher, still in the prime of his career or just entering it. But for him, the money that he would be commanding after getting a franchise tag would be something like.
But it would be a rental. The franchise tag is a rental.
I think he's a really, really talented, good pass rusher. But I'm gonna call back on the second point I had to make.
Thing about this is that you paid $8 million for who was more important to this team last year, Ian Thomas or Hassan Reddick. If you franchise tag Hassan Reddick, it will cost $16 million. Is what it will cost. 16. Is he worth 2 Ian Thomases? And I would say yes. I would say yes, he is, and that's why I like the franchise Reddick move. Is that you're not investing in him to be your defensive player for the long term, like the long time. Is like, you know what, you just say this. It screws Hassan Reddick. I think if I'm Hassan Reddick, I don't want that deal. Right? You're gonna play on a terrible team. Ugh. Again, you gotta try to do this all over. You're gonna have to go out there and beat ass. I would much rather try to sign a 3-year deal with the Eagles where I got $24 million guaranteed with the potential of making $44 million. But it might be good for the Panthers. The tagging Gilmore question is important too, is because Gilmore would not be cheap, man. I feel like corners, the franchise that's another 1-year rental. All a franchise tag is a 1-year rental. You get the best car on the lot for 1 year and 1 year only. And I feel like don't corners make more money than outside linebackers? I would think so.
Yeah, I think that at the top end they probably do. Yeah. But
all right. Well,
he
let's
makes
go
some
to his
good points about Gilly.
Yep. Here's part 2 of his call.
Hey, fellas, it's part 2 of Corey's call. Well, I guess not part 2, just a second unrelated call. But I want to talk about the Kirk Cousins rumors that's ramping up in the Panthers sphere. It's like, I don't really know what all we can say that we just haven't said before about this team, bro. Like, I feel like it's like we just keep doing the same shit over and over again. We keep reliving the same thing. And it's like, I saw a tweet from SB Nation, like, talking about how the headline literally read, Kirk Cousins trade talks heating up as the Panthers attempt to screw it up again. And it's like, bro, how is the national media seeing everything that we're doing? Like we're a laughing stock. How are they seeing this? And our fucking front office doesn't see it. Like,
say that,
how
Corey.
So detached
say
from
that
what this team actually is to think that Kirk Cousins is going to solve our problems. It's like, bro, this man, like, I think people are like, oh, would you rather have Sam or what do you think? Kirk Cousins isn't better than Sam? Like, no, you fucking idiot. Of course Kirk Cousins is better than Sam Darnold, but that's not the point.
Yes.
Like, it ain't just black and white like that.
Right.
We're a young team with lots and lots of holes, really big needs, and very limited resources. Why would we, like, unless we're literally trading Sam Darnold for Kirk Cousins straight up, which still isn't a good move because we're getting rid of an expiring contract over to get an expensive ass Kirk Cousins who's been franchise tagged multiple times. It's like there's nothing that Kirk Cousins would do for us. Why would we take our limited resources, trade it away for a quarterback who's doesn't have potential to get better? We know he is what he is. You can say Kirk Cousins has a great touchdown interception ratio. You can say that he doesn't perform in prime time. You can say all this, but he is what he is. He's not going to get any better. He's not going to, like, turn this team around with somebody who's had Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson at his disposal for the last 3 or 4 years. Hasn't been able to do anything with it. What the hell is he going to do on our team with limited resources, no O-line, weapons who we really don't know if, what we have is DJ Moore, real number one. Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy? Like, what is Kirk Cousins going to do for us other than, like, that's like, it's so frustrating, bro. That's not how you build a team. Find a young quarterback. Find young, cheap talent to fill your needs. You don't fucking use more resources to get somebody who's not going to make you better. Kirk Cousins is not going to make an immediate impact on his team, bro. We're still going to be, we might max out at 8 wins instead of 5. Like, I don't want him. I don't care. I think that's all I had for it, man. I just want to see what y'all think about it, man. I can probably assume what it is, but I don't want no Kirk Cousins in Carolina, man. I don't want Kirk Cousins. I don't want Mr. Trubisky.
Was that the end of the call? I believe so. Corey, fantastic call, brother. And that is essentially what I said earlier, man. There are all these quarterbacks that you can cut and paste their name in there, and I don't want them. Jimmy G, Kirk Cousins, Mitch Trubisky, Gardner Minshew. I know we're not going to have a 30-minute discussion about it. That's my thing, man, is that all these names, are they better than Sam Darnold? yeah, it's a low fucking bar. You don't have to, be very good to be better than Sam Darnold. But at the same time, none of these guys are long-term answers. Like Corey said, they all have very clearly defined ceilings. A lot of them have had premier talent that they've been able to play with on offense, have had better rosters than the Carolina Panthers, and they still were not able to put their respective teams over the edge and get a Super Bowl championship for those teams. So, especially with the Kirk Cousins, but this also applies to Jimmy Garoppolo or whatever quarterback that you're trying to bring in here who is just a game manager. It really does seem like the Panthers are addicted to this game manager style of quarterback that's only ever going to do just enough to make sure the Panthers squeak out victories based on their defense and running the football.
I don't think it's you're addicted to game managers, but you would love to be able to go ask the hottest girl to the dance, but she don't care about you. Like, you don't have a chance. So now you're trying to find the hottest girl out of the unhot girls.
You're trying to find the hottest 7 or 6,
Or like you're trying to find a 7 who's really a 5 that maybe if she dressed a little, person.
No, you're trying to find a 7 with the mindset of a 4. She doesn't know she's a 7. That's what you want.
Yeah, and you think she's a 2, I guess. Good gosh, this is so sad. I feel like it's gotten worse. And sorry, girls. You can rank me all you want. People came up here and called me Cruella DeVille, so you can call me a 1. And you can call me at 252-228-5098. That's right. You can call me a 1, you can call me a 10, or you can call me at 252-228-5098. The C3 Panthers Podcast, longest running Panthers podcast, where we give you the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, fellas? It's Nick Hedden again. It's like, God,
I told you on his last call.
Y'all pull me back in, just like that scene out of The Godfather. Oh my God! Like,
keep on coming back, bro.
We're talking about Jimmy G and all these other quarterbacks. Let me break something down to y'all that you're not really looking at. This goes back to the whole acquisitions thing, right? They may be just giving Matt Rule his last hurrah.
That's what I think it is.
Wants to do.
I think it
because we know that he's afraid of alpha dogs. We know that by the Joe Persons situation that was dropped a month or so back. He was in the elevator and just got scared out of his boots. I think it was Justin Fields. He was in there with somebody and just got, no, we can't get this dude. You know what I'm saying? It was almost, he attributes himself to Jay-Z. Was Justin Fields giving him the whole Solange business? Like, what's the deal with that? Not only that, listen to this, people. Listen to this. I was watching, I'm not sure if y'all watched this, I Am Athlete, right? And no. Excuse me, not the I Am Athlete.
The Pivot. Yeah,
Pivot.
The Pivot.
Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, their podcast, the spinoff.
Yeah, I've been checking them out. Right? It's pretty good.
They had Micah Parsons on there. He says, and I quote, so all these people start following the stuff, and he's like, well, he got us to the Panthers, and he said, and I quote, well, I know they're not going to pick me because we don't really have a relationship. Wait a minute. This guy went to the same university as Matt Rule, Penn State, LBU. And we haven't had that stellar linebacker since Luke. You're telling me that you're not going to look at the guy that came from your university?
Why did he say it again?
He's not even on your board, not even on your radar? What is it? Are you pissed?
I have a good answer to this.
Tell me this. Tell me what happened. Give me a little bit more context.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is how do you pass on somebody like a Parsons who went to Penn State, and I believe you're saying, that was Matt Rule's alma mater.
Not even
Yeah,
just
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely was. He was in the
conversations with him.
same. He was in the same linebacker room as LeVar Arrington. Matt Rule was, and LeVar Arrington, who is like one of the greatest specimens of a linebacker in the history of the world, speaks highly of Matt Rule being like this. He was like, he's the guy that could tell us what to do but couldn't do. Like, he was like, I cheated off of Matt Rule's paper type thing.
So I want to be consistent here. If you go back and listen to some of the things that I said about Michael Parsons last year, every time that I watch a player play from Penn State, I always get so upset, man, how they have so much talent on defense, yet they are so underutilized. This conversation even extends to your Turgos Matos, who I thought was heavily underutilized at Penn State as well. Look, they had Michael Parsons playing an inside linebacker, just a primary off-the-ball linebacker. And if you go back to the film review that we did on him, he missed his gap assignments a lot of the time. He plays so aggressive that it caused him to be out of place when he needed to be somewhere else making the tackle. Well, this is why what the Cowboys did was really quite genius. They said, look, here is this incredible freak athlete. He's raw. He has all these physical tools. We're just going to move him around and let him be a game wrecker. Sometimes we'll make him drop back into coverage. Other times we'll have him man the middle. But other than that, we just want this guy to be a freakazoid and be aggressive and go get after the quarterback and blow shit up. And that is not really what Michael Parsons did when he was at Penn State. So you really needed some imagination to be able to look at Michael Parsons at Penn State and then say, okay, well, maybe if you do some different things with him, he'll turn into this really good football player. But he was lacking all the polish that you want to see from that true Mike linebacker position. Granted, hindsight is always 20/20. We're trying to fill that void left by Luke Kuechly, which we have not been able to do. But I don't hold that against them as much as I do, say, Rashawn Slater. Hold on one sec. I don't hold it as much as I do against Rashawn Slater, for example, because Rashawn Slater, you saw everything that you wanted in a franchise left tackle in his film. It was there for everyone to see, and yet you still passed on him. At least they had a reason to pass on Michael Parsons. They had no reason to pass on Rashawn Slater.
This is where it gets me a little crazy with the draft heads. Is that like, oh, I'd pick him at 15, but not at 8. So you pick Michael Parsons at 15 and feel, oh, like that's like awesome. And then all of a sudden he goes out there and becomes the best defensive player in the league overnight. You're like, oh, we got this. But if we would have picked him at 9, it would have been too rich. Right? Like, I feel like you just got to have some gusto and you got to pick the dudes that you think are going to be dogs. And that's why I do think what you're talking about with Rashawn Slater is also correct. Like 100, is that Michael Parsons was not overpicked, but I think that if you say, oh, I'm not going to pick him at 10, but I would pick him at 11, that's ridiculous. And that's where I got a problem with this stuff. Now, I do want to continue for a brief second and talk about the pivot. So I've watched and listened to this podcast a couple of times, like not much, but I like it. I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm really down on it. Well produced, okay? But the best joint is I saw Hall of Famer Charles Haley. And Charles Haley has as many Super Bowl rings as Tom Brady does. Right? He played for the Cowboys. I think he does. It's like 5 or 6. He's close. If not, like he is like one of the most accomplished players when it comes to the Super Bowl ever. Tom Brady being the only person that I think could outweigh him. He played for the Cowboys and the 49ers in the best of their days. But he was also like this crazy ass weird defensive player too. Like, and when I say weird defensive players, like there's rumors. And when I say rumors, it's kind of confirmed that he like jerked off during meetings and did weird, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's just like, oh, there's Charles jerking off in the meeting again. But he got 10 sacks this season, and he's the best player we got, and he's a dog. So he came on the pivot, and that sounded terrible, like all over them, just all over them. No, and he is the funniest jokester, like trading barbs back and forth. And there was this moment on the pivot where they said, yo, what'd you do? You use a loser. Like they were like kind of trying to josh on him in that like opening cut, but you know, they cut it up so much that you don't give the full context of all the jokes and stuff, but you can read into it. He said, nah, we didn't have lotion. We used to use lard. Like, so I think the whole point is they were joking on him about the rumor that he used to do this weird kind of crap. Not weird, but well, kind of weird, but like he was like, hey, this is me. But the point is, I'm just trying to say is like they were trying to make fun of him. He flipped their joke back on him. It was like, nah, we use lard. Keep shiny. Like that's old school hardcore. Charles Haley, the pivot, man. Would you you listen to that, Cody?
Yeah, man. So it used to be I am athlete. That's why he originally said I am athlete, but then Brandon Marshall apparently didn't want to give Taylor and Channing, enough of their cut of the pie going forward.
Is that what happened?
So they decided to move on from that. They went out and got Ryan Clark, who does like every ESPN show imaginable.
It's kind of like a barbershop on that show.
It is. And you know what, man, Tony? We're in the age of podcasting that people like and really enjoy the long form conversations and getting to hear, especially professional athletes go in depth on these long form conversations and have discussions about things that they're really feeling or, about what happens during a football season, all stuff that I find super fascinating. All those guys are super down to earth and cool too. I also really like Bussin' with the Boys with Taylor Lewan.
Yeah, that was good.
They have a lot of really, really cool athlete podcasts now. And
I like Charles Haley, bro. I like Charles Haley. He came on that the Pivot podcast, and they tried to make fun of him about his toe. Like he's like 65, 70 years old at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's getting up there. And they tried to make fun of him. Maybe 70's a little high. But they were like trying to make fun of him out as he was wearing sandals. Not like your toes are jacked up, bro. Look like you got socks on. That's what they like. Well, I got like that was his joke. And then Charles Haley, though, so they're trying to joke on him for a second. And Charles Haley comes out throwing haymakers back, bro. Haymakers. And not being mad. You know what I'm saying? Not mad, but just josh him with the boys. He said this. He said to the dude across from me, he said, and the guy that you're talking about that is on ESPN all the time, he said, man, your teeth are so white. Like, yeah, I can't sit across from you. They're blinding me. And then they said, well, what do you think about this other dude's teeth who's on the show? And they are not white. He said he got mustard in his mouth. That was his word. He said, he looked like he got mustard in his mouth. That's what he was talking about his teeth. That's like the most fucked up thing you can ever say to someone. You want to joke on someone's yellow teeth, you'd be like, you got mustard in your mouth? That's messed up. Charles Haley was trading barbs, homie. It was dope. Next call.
Me again, people. Tony, you hit it on the head tonight, man. Listen.
Thank you.
Of course, man, it's not the future. I keep telling people, one overlooked stat. Overlooked, very overlooked. But if you look at it, it's a glaring eyesore. 3 weeks ago, the chances and odds against him of ever kissing the Lombardi grew by 1. Now there have been, 56 Super Bowl winning head coaches. And all of them they were contributors in their college years as players.
Not Ian Thomas.
Matt Rule is the only one labeled as walk-on practice fodder.
Oh.
This is actually quoted.
Rudy.
He's quoted as being a good team guy.
Rudy.
His awards
He's Rudy.
are all academic. When you look at that at the base of what if you're trying to get to a Super Bowl, and you look at that as a baseline of what a Super Bowl coach should have, he does not have it. Tepper got him to, number one, like I said, drown this team, or because he sees himself in him as that 1% guy that can get this done. Everybody loves an underdog story, right? But nobody wants to pay $300 to see if Rudy can take us to a Super Bowl. And at least Rudy got to play in that last game. Out of this guy's 4 years at LBU, Paterno never said, "Hey, give me Rudy."
Man, this is how problematic.
That's all I got to say, people. Good night. I'm gonna have to get off the podcast for the night, or else I'm gonna be calling in again.
It's all right. We love it, man. We love your input. We love your insight. And thinking about this is what that call to me kind of insinuates or tells us is like, look, it's really hard to find anything optimistic about Matt Rule right now.
Right.
Is like even the story that I tried to tell you guys about LeVar Arrington, remembering him from the room and him being the tutor and being the student of the game, just not having the physical ability to do it, suggests he could, like, we can't find optimism in the most optimistic, like the stories that we should be trying to hold on to. And that what they like here, another one they've told us is like builder. He's been a builder. He's Bob the Builder at Temple, at this and that. And we can't hold on to that. Like, what do you hold on to? And so if Matt Rule turns it around, if he turns it around, it will be one of the greatest stories in the history of coaching. And when I say turns it around, as I will say this, if he does this year, if somehow he keeps his job beyond this year and then becomes successful, I will say that is the greatest story in the history of coaching. I'm giving you this, is that if he fails this year and gets fired, in some way in the future finds himself back in the NFL in 15 years, I will say that is a great NFL story. But I don't think either of those are happening.
No.
I don't think he's Pete Carroll. And I don't think that all of a sudden, if this Panthers team goes out there and blows out of the water, good God, we're going to have to be on the Matt Rule train. We're going to have to be, because it almost seems like it just cannot happen.
Either that or we draft Kenny Pickett and he turns out to be the best thing since sliced bread and just carries the Panthers football teams further than where
that's
we
not, like he's Joe Burrow. He would have to be Joe Burrow. Is Kenny Pickett? No, he's not.
What if he is? Not. How do you know?
Well, he's not. I'm saying he's not.
Do you know who else isn't?
What have I been saying? Okay. No, what have I said though? If Matt Rule has any prospect of keeping his job, like the only path, he has to draft Kenny. Like, yeah, he has to do that, and it has to somehow give us hope. You know, is that like, oh, Sam Darnold comes out there and gets us to 3-3, gets hurt, and then all of a sudden Kenny Pickett goes, what would that be? 6. We got 11 more games. Say he went 5-6 after that. Kenny Pickett did. You know, so you end the season at 8, and what? That would be 8-9. with the prospect of, oh, we'll get Kenny Pickett. We're good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way he's going to keep his job.
Yeah, someone's going to have to drag him kicking and screaming. I wonder what the thought from Bengals fans were on Zach Taylor before Joe Burrow came in and gave them some prospects. Because
but isn't he an offensive guy?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing is Matt Rule doesn't give us anything.
No,
he doesn't give him by himself. I guess the only thing he could give you is that he's an administrator. And what we have seen, if you think about this, if you can't be the offensive genius, you're not the defensive genius. If you're not the player personnel genius, you're just a good administrator. And we haven't seen any of that from him. We haven't seen him be a good steward at this point. So, it's like even the one thing he's supposed to do well, we didn't need him to be the greatest offensive mind, which I think that's where we're leaning towards now, is that you have to get you have to get an Andy Reid. And the Andy Reid can survive his coaching staff moving on from him. But Dan Quinn cannot survive Kyle Shanahan moving on.
Right.
You just can't. I mean, it's awesome. And that's not a shit. Look at how good Dan Quinn has done in Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, he's always been a phenomenal defensive coordinator.
But the problem is your success is dependent on having good people, and then those good people are going to move on.
Yep.
And that's the sad reality of it. Cody Lashley was onto it way before. He is. I'm a disciple. I'm a disciple of the Cody Lashley way, except for I'm a rebellious child, and I love Gardner Minshew. Next call.
Hey guys, you know what? Pickle here. I want to believe in Brady Christensen, but to play left tackle, but history doesn't allow me to. I've
too
seen
risky.
Too many guys drafted by the Panthers or signed in free agency that was going to be these great offensive linemen, and they may have good season here or there, but they really not there. I've been there, done that, seen that. Can you get a great left tackle other than the first round? Of course, but you don't. You have to understand, if you're here and an elite tackle is there or close to elite, you got to get him. And at worst, you're going to have Brady Christensen playing inside or somebody else playing inside and playing good too. So, I mean, there's times in this draft there's times that we haven't drafted a guy because we didn't need to when we wish we had. And as far as them saying that they would reach if they need to, I mean, come on. Last year, Matt Rule would have considered drafting Slater a reach.
Yeah.
We know
Good
that
point.
wouldn't have been a reach, but he thought it was a reach. So let's understand the mindset we're talking about. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, they let dollars short. They're willing to reach once all the big time left tackle prospects aren't there to even be reached for. And let's make a clear distinction, though. Kim Ekwonu and Charles Cross, to me, they are not the prospects of Rashawn Slater or even Sewell last year.
Oh, can we do a side-by-side of who is the better, just like pure pass blocker from last year? And not tonight, but we're going to do this on our own.
Slater. Yeah.
All right, let's do a side-by-side to just see kind of why that is, where we look at half tape college only for these players. That would be an interesting. We're doing that tomorrow night. We've got the beat check with Joe DeLone from Believe Podcast or Believe Network, helping us get prepared for the NFL draft and the NFL Combine. But we'll ask him that, and then we'll do that film review. Let's do that cross comparison right there, because that is an interesting thing, is because you have been one person who has said you look at each individual draft class on their own merit. On their own merit.
I mean, 100%. And I also at some point I really want to do a Tyler Linderbaum too, because that's another name that I think needs to be added to our discussion. We've mainly been saying Kevin Kwanu and Charles Cross, and both of those two are really good guys that are in contention for us. But that center out of Iowa, I think a lot of people, and I know a bunch of Panther fans have already looked him up, but that guy is a guy that frankly he could be the pick, especially if they're considering, they don't care if it's a reach. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't draft a center in the top 10 picks, but I think maybe this might be a scenario, especially if you're the Panthers, where you might.
All right. Well, you better get some good rest tonight, because we're going to do a lot of content tomorrow night. We got Joe DeLund on the C3 beat check, and then we're going to bust out this content. C3 Panthers Podcast, longest running Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098, live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Check us out on all the podcast outlets. Here is the last call.
Hey, man, Corey, last time I was wrapping up here, but got cut off. Just wanted to say that, like, if we're gonna go into next year with Sam Darnold, like, we're gonna have somebody to have a quarterback competition with in the offseason, whether it's like Mitch Trubisky or rookie or whatever, fine. We're gonna suck. We're gonna suck next year. Everybody knows that. Like, at least next year, like, going into next year with Kirk Cousins, it's not gonna make me excited for this team. All it's gonna show me is that we don't learn from our mistakes. Like, we haven't learned anything in the last 2 years of being just increasingly more shitty. And that's honestly just kind of disheartening, bro. I wouldn't know how to, like, getting Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't know how as a fan to like get excited before the upcoming season, because we're not learning anything. We're just doing the same shit over and over again. It'd be really disheartening, man. It would honestly kind of test my fandom a little bit, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. But still all speculation, man. Hopefully we can, right this ship, do something right. But appreciate all y'all for always, like I said, making the content every single week, putting up with us, and and allowing this outlet for all the fans to come and talk, man. But keep on.
Tremendous call. And thank you for hanging out with us each and every week. That's the thing, is we got to get through this together.
Yep.
And look at this as we move on through the show, Cody. Yeah, this you put it. Matt Rule is an embarrassment.
Yep.
Tell me why you got this. We briefly mentioned this in the last show, but the NFL Combine kicks off this week.
Yeah, because we're gonna hear from Federer, and we're not gonna hear from Matt Rule. And I made this slide last week, but I just felt like since we're closer to the Combine, it just bears repeating. When you look at all these other coaches who are choosing to not speak, right? You're talking about a who's who, some of the best, most proven coaches in the NFL. Guys like Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan. The fact that, I said this last week that it was a good thing, right? Because every time Matt Rule comes up and says things, he always ends up making himself look even dumber, and this team and the decisions that they've made look even dumber every time he opens his mouth. But I just, got to thinking about it again, and it's like, it doesn't matter what your year was before. Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions has to go up there and talk, and so does Zach Taylor of the Bengals when they were losing big time. It's like, this is that time of the year, man. You don't necessarily have to talk about all the things that you've done, but at least start to tell us what you're building towards, what kind of things that you're looking for in the players that we're going to be sitting here at the Combine, and what types of traits and qualities you intend to draft, because this is all very important, especially seeing on how they have missed on so many of these important traits in our very recent history, man. So I don't know. Everything surrounding this man is an embarrassment. And I think he's going to embarrass us once again when he's being fired in the middle of the season next season.
If he can find a way to make this work, it will be one of the most awesome turnaround stories ever. And so I'm kind of rooting for it. I don't think it's going to happen. But imagine if we'll have something to talk about. If Matt Rule is a coach in 2 years, there's going to be all of a sudden the narrative somehow will starkly have changed. But CK, you have a child. I've got 3. Mine are starting to get bigger. I am the old hat here, but this is a classic homework question of who doesn't belong.
Right.
What doesn't belong? It's like this: is we put 3 vegetables in a steak up here. It's like, which one doesn't belong? The cheeseburger, the lettuce, the carrots, and the celery all belong. Vegetables. The Boston butt, the cow turd does not belong here. Oh my goodness gracious. Final topic of the night.
Yeah, this
I think
is
it's
also
final
one...
topic. Is it the final topic, or is has Ian Thomas gotten arrested again since we have?
No, this is another leftover from last week when it was 222. Just a simple who you taking if you had to pick between the two of them. One gets to stay, one has to go on the Carolina Panthers squad. Who you taking, DJ Moore or Christian McCaffrey? You can only pick one going forward. Who would you pick?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear. It's going to be DJ. Like, he won't command. Well, actually, he probably would command a good bit of money. But he's been available. Yeah, I mean, I think there's more. You know what I mean? Like, who you got, CK?
I think it's DJ Moore for me as well. Like I said, I think there's no denying who has more talent, and that's Christian McCaffrey. Right. You know, but from a perspective of cost and value, I think that DJ Moore is going to provide you a lot more than what.
Or what if you just made? What if you just told Christian McCaffrey he has to be DJ Moore? Like, I actually think he could be a receiver of that caliber. Is he that? How short is he? Is he really that short?
Who, DJ?
Yeah.
DJ's like 6 foot. Christian's 5'11". I think DJ is like 6 foot, 6'1".
Then you know what? It's like, why isn't Christian McCaffrey like at this point? No, I'm changing my answer. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey, and I'm just saying this. Just be DJ Moore then for $4 million less.
I think we've been saying that. Like, if we're going to keep Christian McCaffrey, you need to move him to a slot receiver position, because it's clear the constant having to be the guy who's picking up blitzes. I mean, when he's in the game, people don't realize this. Like, if he's not getting the hand, like a lot of people wanted to utilize like how often he was in the game, and then people would defend him like in his big year, 2017 year, 2018 year, and saying like, well, he wasn't really touching the ball that entire time. He was just in the game. But if you're a running back in this league, you're contacting on every single. It's similar to offensive linemen. You know, that's why a lot of times the offensive linemen get hurt so frequently, is because it is a contact.
Right, yeah. It's like, why isn't just make him a wide receiver? He's got great hands. He caught 100 footballs. We've seen him catch things on his fingertips. We've seen him do all that. It's a call. At this point is, why is Christian McCaffrey not saying I should be a wide receiver?
Because I think there's a pride thing involved with that too.
Yeah, like he always, like, running back is the doggest of dog in the room since you were in middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like, the best player plays running back. It's like, it's just straight up. And it's kind of like the best player plays quarterback as you get out of middle school. But, like, you just hand the ball off in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. Like, he's been the dog since the beginning, maybe. Two other things before we get out of here. The Carolina Panthers have a new play-by-play commentator, and that is Mick Mixon. has retired this past year to work on his farm. And now we get a new guy. I was hoping for Jim Zoki. I'm not going to lie. I like Jim Zoki. I think he brings a good, not only information to the game, but sense of humor at the same time, and the entertainment that is informative. But I hope they keep him on. Who did they hire, Cody?
Yeah, so the Carolina Panthers have hired Anish Shroff. I think I said that name correctly. And my man, he's actually going to give CK a good run for his money with his announcing voice, just to give you a taste of what my man sounds like.
The things I'm really looking forward to is being a part of the same organization where Sam Mills will always be the heartbeat. He's a Hall of Famer now. The little town in New Jersey where I grew up was 9 minutes from where Sam Mills played college football. Growing up, our teachers used to talk about Sam Mills, the 5'9" linebacker tearing it up on Sundays, who was once a teacher just a couple of towns over from where I grew up. Now to come to work every day and to see his statue, it reminds me of where I grew up. It reminds me of this journey. And to see Sam Mills, his pictures, his name all over this building, that's very special to me.
Nice. There's our first little brief interaction with Anish. I remember hearing this guy do a bunch of college football games. He's commentated a bunch of Clemson games. So you may know him from college football. And then you shared this with me, Tony. You wanted me to play this funny moment that went down with him and Mike Golick Jr.
Conventional foods that work with mayonnaise. We're starting with what? Cream-filled cookies here. You first. Take a dip. It's a really interesting blend of flavors. Thumbs up for me. Oh, Anish. We're going to need someone up here to call this next drive. He's not doing well. I've seen that.
Oh, no.
I understand his Anish problems right there. I don't know about dipping an Oreo into mayonnaise. And I like mayonnaise. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Right. I'm like, some people hate mayonnaise. Some people think it's like, but the idea of just mayonnaise by itself is disgusting. And I just can't pair it with an Oreo. But another thing about Anish is his hair don't move at all, homie. When he did that Sam Mills story, that hair was high and tall. It looked like a Pacific wave. Like he was surfing a Pacific. Man, this mug was as tall as my hat. And this is a low profile hat right here. Low profile hat. Look. And his hair was that tall and did not move at all. So, no, he got good pipes. And I think it is, I hope, first is Mick Mixon was voluptuous in his descriptions. And I can only hope that you are as sultry in your descriptions. Anish. The last thing I want to talk about this is I saw one tweet and I thought this was real fun. And I'm not going to look for it right now, but it was like, who would you take? And they were, because it was the combine, the fastest Carolina Panther to run the 40. And this was, I got to give my man credit too, because a long time listener of the podcast at Pole Guy 13 knows his Panthers like top to bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like real. Oh, and here I just pulled up his profile, Cody, Clemson fan too. He is, like a fan, like he knows his Panthers legit.
Good shit. Love it.
And he put this tweet up and it was like, he didn't. Actually, we were just both responding on somebody else's tweet. And it was like, who would you put up as the 40 time? And they had Curtis Samuel. They had DJ Moore. I think the other was Robbie. God, who was the third? And he So he said
it was. You mean the 40 times?
Yeah, it was Curtis Samuel,
Samuel, DJ
Robbie.
Moore, and Dante Jackson.
That's what it is. Thank you. So respond to that tweet right away before I talk to Pole Guy and I's conversation, which he won me over. He debated my take with such efficacy that I am forever indebted to him.
So what, you're asking who I would take in a...
Yeah, like when you saw that tweet, what'd you think? Because I had an opinion right away.
Yeah, listen, people are going to freak out, but Curtis Samuel, man. I know Curtis Samuel had so many injuries, but that guy had an opportunity to be our own version of, believe it or not, Tyreek Hill. We just didn't have the guy to be able to get him the ball down the field, so we had to use him on jet sweeps and, do these other inventive ways to get the ball in his hand. Basically, kind of use him like a running back. But if we had the opportunity to make use of Curtis Samuel's straight line speed, y'all forget that was supposed to be the original 1-2 punch.
Dude,
that was supposed to be the original 1-2 punch was Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore.
And Christian
it's
McCaffrey.
The second 1-2 punch, bro. It was not the original 1-2 punch. We've been trying to find the original 1-2 punch since you were born.
I'm saying that's what we were hoping that it was.
We were trying to be like Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess were that. No, it's not the original. Number one. And number two is that Curtis Samuel was hurt all the fucking time. All the time. It's not him not having a quarterback. He won't ever there. All right, keep going. CK, who you think of? Because this conversation got cool.
I was gonna say Dante Jackson.
Okay, so I thought immediately, my first thought was Ted Ginn Jr. Like just straight up 40 time, because that's what the tweet was about. Was like they showed them in that kind of hyper, where they throw them all together.
Yeah.
Right. And Cody took this to like, oh, who can we do and how could they be and how could they be a Tyreek Hill? But Ted Ginn actually is the most accomplished out of all, not all those players. I would say DJ Moore is close to as accomplished as he is now. But I was thinking Ted Ginn, and Ted Ginn ran a 4.28. So he ran faster than all those dudes. Jackson, all of them. Now, he was the first overall pick by the Dolphins, I believe, or something like that. But he played with the Panthers, and he was successful there. But my guy, Pole Guy 13, said this. And I didn't even, when he said it, he said Teddy Williams. And I was sitting there thinking, like the baseball player, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't, like I saw the name, and then that made me, the Teddy made me think of Ted Ginn. I was thinking about all this. But Teddy Williams, who was an undrafted, I think, free agent for the Carolina Panthers, who was a guest on the C3 Panthers podcast, ran a 4.21 or some shit like that. Like it is like he was, and as Pole Guy 13 said, declared the fastest man in Texas. Right, just straight track speed. And this was back in maybe 2014 or something like, we were still getting in the podcast, but I forgot how fast. You know what is, I almost would say Demir Bird might need to be in this conversation.
Oh, don't you dare.
Oh, all right.
I don't want to hear
I'm looking
shit
up.
about Demir Bird, dude.
Looking up 40 time. Demir Bird.
But dude, he was not in the same
let's see. We're talking 40 times, like historically great. He ran a 4.28. So him and Ted Ginn ran a 4.28, and Teddy Williams.
Yeah, but you can't talk no shit about Curtis Samuel being fragile.
I'm not talking crap. I'm talking about this tweet.
Demir Bird, a stiff gust of wind left Demir Bird hurt.
With a torn ACL.
Yeah. Demir Bird.
No. Demir Bird, I would say, I bet you this.
His bones were brittle like a bird.
Nah, actually, I won't say this because Curtis Samuel has the craziest like per play touchdown ratio. Is like he only played like 7 plays 1 year and he had like 3 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what? No, you shit on Damiere Byrd. Damiere Byrd is more accomplished than Shi Smith. Boom. Easy. Like,
Smith is a rookie, and he will be a far superior.
I bet you that Damiere Byrd almost has as many touchdowns as DJ Moore.
As many touchdowns?
It might be close. I know it's not like, I mean, think about this. Think about that. And I'll look it up.
Let's trade for
Gardner but let's keep going. We gotta. We're almost done. No. I'm just saying, don't shit on little baby Bird who is chirp. Like, I don't know why you don't kind of like the guy who you will defend a dude who is overrated and underperforms more than you will defend a guy who is underrated and overperforms.
No,
Trevor Lawrence is the greatest player in the history of the world, and this motherfucker ain't done shit.
You make a dumb comparison. Damiere Byrd got injured every time the wind blew, and he never.
What is Curtis Samuel? Curtis Samuel has played.
He went to South Carolina. I rest my case.
All right.
So did Josh Smith,
I can't wait. I just want to see this. Is how many? All right, we're gonna move this show along. We're done. I'm gonna tell you this is Curtis Samuel. Now, I want to finish this off with not finish it off, but Curtis Samuel has started 33 games in his career. He only, by the way, he signed a big deal with Washington last year and only started 1 game. How terrible is that? Nope, 33. Let me see. I want to see if Damiere Byrd. Hold on.
Dude, Karen Troy has the best comment. That boy was made out of 1-ply toilet paper. It was soft, man. He was Damiere Byrd. He was
but you cannot.
Injured, yes, it was.
This is
very
unbelievable
and always hurt, man.
Unbelievable.
And by the way, if Damiere Byrd has anywhere close to the number of touchdowns that DJ Moore has, that's just a testament to how bad the quarterback situation has been.
I would tell you this is that receiving is he has 5 career touchdowns. And I feel like DJ's just had 4, 4, and 4. So yeah. Let's see this. This Curtis Samuel has had 14 receiving touchdowns. All right. See, I feel like y'all sleep on a little baby Bird a little bit.
No, you just get crushes that you defend until the day you die, and you won't hear anything else about them. We can go to Cameron Artist Payne here, Damiere
Oh my
Byrd,
gosh! Well, yeah, bring in Cameron Artist Payne, the most fucking underrated player in the whole world. All right.
Too bad you weren't the coach of him.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was the armchair pilot, or the what do they call it? The armchair quarterback.
Dude,
anyway,
I'll never forget. Jonathan Stewart fumbled 2 times in 1 game, and I just remember it'd be like, put in Cap, just let him play, But they never did, man.
Man, I love some Cameron Artist Payne, but somehow I think my running theory is that he slept with Ron Rivera's daughter.
That's what Joe.
I swear. I think I just don't understand what, because unless Ron Rivera just was so crazy. I don't believe this either. It's like, oh, I don't believe in you because you don't know how to pass block. We saw Ron Rivera in desperate moments put rookies in. I don't know. Ron Rivera, we'll see. I want to see what Ron Rivera does with the Washington Commanders this year, because he is a good coach, and I would look, he's way better than Matt Rule. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I would go to war with some Ron Rivera over anybody. But it is kind of it's like put up or shut up for Ron Rivera with Washington right now, because last year they had defensive talent. They just underperformed. And he just did the typical Ron Rivera shit where you get Fitzpatrick and then you stick with. So we'll see. I'll be watching Ron Rivera. Anyway, I think we're done. There's no other news, right? I mean, we talked about the 40. Man. We talked about this. We just need to ice some fools up. So you're listening to the longest running Panthers podcast. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. We've been doing this. We're in our 10th season. We're in episode 4 of our 10th season, homie. That's insanity. Insanity that for 10 years or 9 years going into 10 years that we have been bringing this content live on the internet. That was like, when I was thinking about it, it's like the internet not the internet barely existed, but this is so ingrained in people's lifestyles now.
Yeah.
I watch YouTube at like when I'm grading paper, I put YouTube up. You know, I listen to I did not do that 8 years ago. So we appreciate your support.
Look who we have joining us last second, man.
Holy cow.
Dad, you're fresh off of seeing the Batman.
I have seen the Batman.
Going to take my family this weekend. You better not tell me nothing.
I just finished.
I don't want
15-minute non-spoiler review. I just finished it. It's on YouTube. It should It should be able to live. All
right, tell them how. Actually, because we're finishing the show up.
Okay.
And you can give us your ice up pick here, but tell them how they can find this 15-minute, which is short. That's perfect. It's a perfect review for a great movie we expect. With non-spoilers, Greg, how can they find it?
You can check out Super Civil Servants Podcast on YouTube. I'm actually going to put the link to the channel here in the chat room if you want to.
Please put it straight to the video. Yep. We will retweet it. In fact, people in the chat, go ahead and share this link and join the Super Civil Servants Podcast. One person who shares the link to the Super Civil Podcast will get a free Cam Wow tonight.
Nice.
That's right. Greg, you got to keep up with it. You got to tag the Bat Daddy 52 in that. And that's what he's going to put the links up to his channel. All you got to do is say this. You're excited for Batman. You're skeptical about Batman. You want to watch this. And one of the people that tweet this out or put it on Facebook, you tag him and we'll give you a free Cam Wow. I'll send it to you.
I like it.
So we can see that's coming out. I'm going to take my kids there. Do you have an ice up pick for? Actually, I'll pass the mic. Who is ready? Because we'll let Greg put the links up and do that. So we'll give him a second because I put him on the spot. I did not plan that. He didn't plan that. I'm excited about Batman. I have a lot of opinions. I read this story, dude, that I could ice up today about how the Christopher Nolan Batmans were bad.
Oh, no.
I know. It was a hack piece, but in some ways I felt like at least he went after it. So who's got a good ice up pick that they got some gumption about? ZK?
I'll tell you, mine is because I have a strong opinion about this, and I know we probably have stayed away from this topic for the majority of this conversation due to the fact that it's just saturating all of our lives. But mine's short and sweet, and that is Vladimir Putin and Russia invading Ukraine in the way that they are. And I saw a video, I'm sure everybody has, of the tank that just swerved over and hit the car for no other reason than it almost felt like just for fun. Like that's the kind of feeling I got, this tank running off this car in the Ukraine. It gives you a sour taste in your mouth, and I'm just saying ice up to Vladimir Putin and those people in power that are allowing this to continue.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll go here next. So Joe Biden did his State of the Union speech tonight, and already a number of his flubs are trending on Twitter.
He called Ukrainians Uranians.
Yeah, he called Ukrainians Iranians, and it literally zooms in on Kamala Harris's face while he's saying it, and you can tell she's like,
That can't be true.
Here's another. No, dude, it's 100%. It's trending right now. I'll play a video clip if you want me to fucking do it.
Please. No, I want to hear it.
No, the first one that we're going to play is watch Nancy Pelosi and watch her excitement and her enthusiasm that she displays. But listen to what Joe Biden is saying to make her so enthusiastic and just to get so excited in general. Listen to what he's saying and what makes her get so excited.
Faced in Afghanistan face many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of a face.
Bitch, what the fuck are you excited for? Soldiers breathing in toxic.
One more time. Bring it back one more time. It's like comedy. It's comedy.
One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there.
What kind of drugs are you
I've been in and
on?
out of a face.
All right. So look, in defense of, and look, you don't want to defend Nancy Pelosi at your own peril. Defend Nancy Pelosi at your own peril.
Like,
but I'm guessing this is like, I hope, and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that is a part of the speech she wanted worked in that had something to do with her constituency. That, you know what I'm saying? That's something she had worked to get, and she flubbed the delivery of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's because he's like talking about, and I haven't heard the context, but I would at least hope that she was trying to get that word into the speech. But my guess is that these people are so old and ridiculous that she just probably was like trying to act excited about something she anticipated to be awesome, and was like, and when our babies die because of our choices about abortion, we surprise. And then she's like, ooh. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. But you know,
what I think it is that her and her ilk have been famous for doing that kind of shit, and she just wants to make sure that she gets her credit for those are our criminal war tactics that we're proud of. So anyway, fuck them.
You know what's kind of crazy about this is my first visual optic, and I should probably be more familiar with this, is that in the background you get the vice president, and then the other person you get is the House Majority Leader. Yep. I would assume is why she's sitting back there. But all right, so I guess Pence over the last 4 years was just the vice president. And has Nancy Pelosi been the House Majority Leader for ultimately the last 6 years and beyond?
Yep. And she just gets to stay there because.
All right. Next one. I want to see the other one. Come on, give me the other flub. I'm fine.
I'm trying to find the fucking thing.
Did he really call them Iranians?
Yeah. Why is that hard to believe? He's a walking geriatric.
No, it's not good. I mean, I understand. Look, I want to give a lot of people grace for like kind of speaking flubs when you're on high pressure stakes and different that. But Iranians and Ukrainians, it's like, oh, all those people we fucking hate. Or something, you know, like, it's like the Japanese, the Chinese, it's just ridiculous. Like, all right, let's hear it.
We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom.
Bro.
And he will never.
All right, so Iran and Russia are allies. They're allies.
Yeah, but Ukraine and Iran are decidedly different places.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No. What I'm saying is this: is Russia and Iran are allies. You can't be like, oh, Russia's fucking with these people, and they're like, no, they're best friends, bro. They best friends.
Yeah, he's not competent.
Wow. One more time. Let's hear it one more time. It is wonderful. I need to hear it. And then
Iranian people. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
Like, dude, it's like Matt Rule. He says a lot of shit without saying anything at all.
no, that's actually going way out. That's like so we needed this speech for me to believe in any of these causes to be more powerful. I needed it to, like, I'm gonna become a cynic. I have become Cody Lashney.
Oh,
I have
dude, you need to
become
join
Cody
me, bro.
Lashney.
None of these people deserve any of your fucking
Right.
space, man.
Right.
They
So
never-
I needed this speech to be like I needed it. I haven't listened to it yet, but like you expect for you to garner my respect, this needs to be to the level of like some Roosevelt after like.
In order for the Democrats to gain my respect, I needed Selma Hayek to come give me a hot oil massage in my bedroom. And that didn't happen either.
Damn.
Look, can I piggyback off you? Because mine was going to be about the State of the Union address as well.
Sure,
I was
man.
gonna go with Biden, but-
Please.
Okay, so I didn't actually get to see it, but I had some friends who were talking about it with me earlier. And so this is true. I was trying to find a clip of it, but from what I understand, Biden says that the economy is in great shape and people just don't understand it because of brain fog from COVID. So I don't understand what 8 or 9% inflation rate this year, and my
Yep.
gas prices being $1.50 more. I don't understand that because of COVID, because of brain fog.
That's a bit condescending.
It is.
Well, yeah,
how
it's like the
stupid- how
liberal-
stupid are you calling me? To
This is
think
where
that I'm going to
the
believe what you're saying.
the
And he
disjointed
failed
liberal.
to take action on any of the things that he promised in this recent campaign. He told everyone that he was going to wipe out student loan debt with an executive order. But that ain't fucking happening, bro.
Or he
They're all
should just make
liars,
weed legal. That's what you should just do. Is like, I mean, just that doesn't cost you anyway. To
Big time politics podcast.
to triple down on the brain fog though from COVID is I have suffered through. Look, I've been through my own mental health, I guess, with COVID. And I don't like us using mental health as a like, oh, like feel bad for me moment. I mean, if you are going through mental health issues, I wish the best for you, but likely I am not the person that's going to truly be able to help you. You know, I mean, like at the same time, like as I hope the best, I pray, whatever the words I have to say that make me feel you and I all feel politically correct to be better together. I want to say. So I have, look, I hate getting up. Like I've been worse about getting up and going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like I've lived worse through COVID. I won't say live worse. I've lived less for work a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, but I have to do I have to do whatever job. Look, I get up here and I do the podcast every Tuesday night. I mean, I don't have to, but like, I mean, it kind of is what you have to do for that product to be consumed. Some people told me recently in the academic field, and they're not my peers. They're people I got to be very delicate who I talk about in my job. You know what I'm saying? So not peers, potentially rolled it. Look, just random people. Maybe it may or not be in my class. That's it. But that reading a book was too intimidating. And I gotta say this, folks. Reading a book should not be I mean, look, I understand if you're not a great if like reading is tough, if comprehension is tough. I understand that people face challenges. But imagine if you went to the NFL combine and you were like, I am so mentally stressed, I cannot do the push-up thing. So intimidated by it. Just read,
profile
folks.
not to do it. Yep.
Just read. And I mean, like, just do it. Like, I know it takes more time than you want to do. I know, like, exercise takes more energy than you want to do. Look, I went to the gym today. I've been fucking beating ass at the gym. It sucks. I hate it. You know, when I say I hate it, it's like I'm dying when I leave that mug each day. But the idea is, like, just don't tell me that the mental anguish, like, I am so mentally fatigued that I cannot read words. I'm sorry. Read a book, folks. Read. I'm at the point where I would be okay if you read a misinformation book. How about that? Imagine that. As I'm icing up people, like, you're misinformed because you have not read a book. When was the last time you read a book, folks? A full, straight on book to book. If you have not read one book in the last year, one book, ice up. That's it. Ice up. Just read a book cover to cover. It's a mental exercise. It takes, and you don't got to pick the longest one in the world. I'm not saying you got to go pick a 500-page book. Go pick a 85-page book. Go pick a 125-page book. It is a decision to finish it. That's it. Just a mental decision to not quit after 2 seconds.
I bet Joe Biden hasn't read a book in 5 years.
Do you know they said Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah, right. He probably can't at all.
They said Teddy Roosevelt read a book a day.
And that's why he's probably considered one of the greatest presidents in the world. And
he also must not have had shit to do, unless or
oh no, this motherfucker went to Africa and hunted rhinoceros. He climbed the other thing. One other thing they said about Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, who was sickly when he was young and had asthma, and all these, like, he was like, they were like, oh God, this poor little baby. He wore those thick ass glasses, those thick glasses. They said Teddy Roosevelt was so pissed that he had asthma that he smoked cigars to get rid of it. He's like, fuck this. I'm gonna beat asthma with these cigars. Mind over matter. Just read a book, folks. I didn't ask you to read one a day. One book, cover to cover, by 2023. If you don't, ice up. That's it. What else you got? Is that it? I mean, like, can we go?
That's it, man. We're done, dude.
Okay. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, a completely independent, fan-based media organization. Oh, media. Fuck that. We ain't media. We just fans talking about the Carolina Panthers each and every Tuesday night into Wednesdays at times. You can check out my written work at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can follow us on Twitter. You can check out the podcast on Spotify and all that jazz. Hey, if you don't want to donate to the show, go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and just click on an ad on the sidebar. Like, when you click on an ad, it gives you, like, one person like 33 cents. But if you just look at 72 ads, we get like 1 cent. So you don't want to donate to the podcast? Go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and just click all over some fucking ads.
Yep. The penis enlargement pills.
I know.
Yeah,
I get
all of it.
If you don't get text messages about it, CK, then you haven't lived. or you have not signed up with a credit card company, CK, look at this. Cody. Best fans in the world. You didn't need to give us much, but thank you, Cody. Thank our fans and get us out of here. And when I say get us out of here, pass the mic around.
Karen Choi with the powerful $20. Thank you so much. He said, buy some dick pills with it.
You damn right.
Buy some of those dick hardening pills and see how those work. And see how many local singles are in your area. You know, just have a good time with it. But definitely appreciate you, Karen. So you can find me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac. I'm pretty good about, replying to people, following people on Twitter. You can find all my written work on drafttech.com, where I am the analyst for the Carolina Panthers. Check that out. There's a brand new mock draft up on that website right now. And every Friday at 7 o'clock, you can join the Friday free-for-all, man. That's right. Come on the show. Let us know what you think about these Carolina Panthers, the front office, the combine, the draft. Anything and everything goes. It's a podcast for Panther fans by Panther fans, and a chance for you all to jump on and be a little part of what we're doing here at the C3 Panthers Podcast.
CK's got the bestest voice in the game. How can they follow you? Where you get your game on?
You can find me on Facebook Gaming at Cody Allen. You can also find me on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all those locations where people try to make themselves feel more important by putting their self out there.
All you got to do is message my boy Greg, aka the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. You can comment on his videos on YouTube. How can they find your videos on YouTube?
It's at Super Civil Servants Podcast, the show on YouTube, and I actually got links for the channel and the most recent review that I did in the live chat right now for the Panthers Podcast.
Well, they have probably flown past for a lot of people, but look, you go onto YouTube, you hit the Super Civil Servants Podcast, you subscribe up to them, and you drop a comment on their latest video, and you just put C3 or something about CamWow. You hit them up on Twitter at the Bat Daddy 52, and we will select one. Hey, and if there's more than one or two or three of you, we might select more of you. But I guarantee one CamWow to the listener of the Super Civil Servants Podcast, because I have a lot to talk about. I love the nerd world, even though I refuse to admit it. So anyway, thank you, Greg, for your service to the podcast so much, man. You guys have been wonderful. Cody, CK, the people in the chat. Cody, get us out of here, please.
Until next time, Panther Nation, keep pounding.
And we're all going to buy